Good evening, fight fans. This is the Radulich and Broadcasting Network alternative commentary for UFC on ESPN 7. Overeem versus Rozenstruik, brought to you by the good people at the UFC, coming to you live from the Capital One Arena. What's in your wallet? In Washington, D.C. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And joining me tonight, as he does every time we do an MMA card, from Form 1 Mania, ladies and gentlemen, at least he was fair, Robert Winfree. How do you do, sir?
Considering the state of the world, I'll take fairness.
So, you watched the Joshua Ruiz fight from earlier today. We did not bring you coverage because I
didn't.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
No. I had a family thing early and then spent 3 hours doing Christmas decorations for my grandmother because I'm a good person.
Oh, okay. Well, if anyone's wondering why the Radulich and Broadcasting Network didn't bring you alternative coverage of Joshua versus Ruiz, just because I had to go find a quiet place at work to go watch it, and I let everybody know it too. I said, hey, at 4 o'clock, I am disappearing. Unless an inmate sets himself on fire, and then not even then, just tell me afterwards, don't bother me for the next hour. And, you know.
A riot could have broken out, and you would have been like, fine, just leave me alone while I watch this.
I had to go, I sat in the lobby of the jail to watch the fight. So if a riot had walked out, I'd have just whistled and walked to my car.
Which is, a really good response to all of that.
Well, I'm not security. What the hell am I going to do? Ask them how they feel about it?
I don't know. Is that your job description?
To ask people how they feel about things? More or less. So, enough of this silly banter aside. As I said, we are bringing you tonight's UFC fight. There is a bevy, an absolute plethora of things you could be watching. You could be watching Rock the Bells on Fight. You could be watching Tito Ortiz versus Alberto Del Patron from Combat on the Fight app. There's like 2 or 3 different other...
Why do you hurt me when you pronounce it like that? It's Combate.
Combate. Because there were so many ways I could have hurt you with that sentence. There's 2 or 3 different boxing matches on like real networks on tonight. You've got, I think, one on Showtime. You've got one on PBC. You've got Top Rank on ESPN. But if you've chosen to watch the UFC, we thank you for checking out this podcast. Tonight we've got, as I said, the main event is a heavyweight bout between Overeem versus Jeff Rozenstruik.
Jairzinho.
Right. That too.
Named after an incredibly famous Brazilian soccer player.
Terrific.
You didn't even know that, did you?
Not a clue.
I am speaking. You know what? Nope. I'm not even going to insult you about it. You know what? You know who and what you are, and you're okay. And you're okay with it.
I assumed he was from Sweden.
No, you didn't.
We've also got Marina Rodriguez versus Cynthia Carvalho.
Also, because you just brought this up, for the record, he is from Suriname.
Yes. Skyscraper, Stefan Struve.
You don't even know what continent that's on, do you?
Africa.
No, actually.
The Middle East.
That's not a continent.
Well, that would... Okay. So, Asia.
This is hilarious. No.
Well, it's not Europe.
No.
It's not North America.
No. You're down to, by the process of elimination, you're going to get there eventually.
Australia?
No. Only 2 left.
Antarctica.
I waited for you to go through with it. Way to commit to the gimmick. No. It is actually the smallest country in South America.
You're shitting me.
No.
I honest to God thought it was from Africa. And not because he's like a black guy.
You're probably there's a few other, especially like West African countries that have similar sounding names, so I'm not going to call you I'm not going to insult you and call you a godless either or anything like that.
There's also 900 countries in Western and Central Africa.
You xenophobe.
Yes. Anyway, Stefan Struve versus Big Ben Rothwell. Aspen Ladd
that
versus...
fight would have been moderately compelling 8 years ago.
Moderately. Yana Kunitskaya, Cody Stamann versus Song Yadong.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that fight.
And starting us off right proper is Rob Font versus Ricky Simon. Earlier in the evening, Mahmoud Muradov defeated Trevor Smith by lost your address KO punch.
Ooh, that was a beautiful finish from him. Set up very well. Knocked his mouthpiece out like halfway across the cage. Great knockout.
Yeah, I caught the replay of that on Twitter, and I felt it. Verna Yandaroba defeated Mallory Martin by submission, and my daughter was convinced it was a mixed gender fight.
Good for her.
That's my contribution to the analysis.
Hang on. Also, no, it's Jen Jihoba. She is from Brazil. They pronounce J's like J's and R's like H's. In Brazilian Portuguese.
Joe Selecki defeated Matt Wyman by decision.
Not a competitive fight. Matt Wyman shouldn't be in the UFC.
Bryce Mitchell, Thug Nasty? Was that who that was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, otherwise known as Thug Nasty, defeated Matt Sales with a twister, Anti-M, a twister.
Just the second twister in UFC history. The first was back in 2011, and the Korean Zombie scored it over Leonard Garcia.
Billy Quarantino, who... Look, my wife has this effect on fights that if she cheers for somebody, they lose, and sometimes lose bad enough that, unfortunately, they die several days later. Rest in peace, Patrick Day.
Tell your wife to root for Uriah Faber in his upcoming fight.
No, she hates him.
I know, but I want him to die, so please root for him.
I understand that. I'll see what I can do. She's got a mind of her own. Which brings me to the next fight. Let me just say this. Every time I blinked and every time I looked up, Billy Quarantino was just mauling Jacob Kilburn like a bear. A bear, I tell you.
Yeah, this was also not a competitive fight. Quarantino just crushed him from start to finish.
Yeah, like James Kilburn looked like he was drowning in arms and legs. And then finally, speaking of being mauled like a bear, Tim Means guillotine choked after pounding the life out of Thiago Alves, who my wife doesn't like because he has two manicured eyebrows.
It's nice that you get to talk about your family someplace.
Look, this is the analysis I bring here. This guy thinks he has his eyebrows are too manicured. Fantastic. I put that on Twitter. Hashtag shit my wife says. All right. Our main card will be starting any minute now. Let's talk about this first fight here, and we'll when we get to the main event, we'll talk about that. So Rob Font versus Ricky Timon Hakuna Matata in the bantamweight division. What do you got for me?
This is a really good fight. Ricky Simón was undefeated in the UFC prior to his last fight, had finally cracked the top 15 rankings. Then, because he is a young fighter with some exploitable holes in his game, he managed to hurt Uriah Faber standing, walk into a right hand, and give Faber his first finish via strikes in like 2 decades.
Oh my.
So he's trying to rebound from that setback. Rob Font is a very technically proficient fighter. He's been a bit up and down in his last couple of fights, but he is coming off of a win over Sergio Pettis. And the big thing he's trying to do here is get back-to-back wins. This is kind of your classic, technically proficient, smooth fighter in Rob Font against the more kind of aggressive wild man in Ricky Simón. Both men are capable in all areas of the fight, so should be a good one.
Winner of this fight, where does that leave them in the bantamweight division?
Well, Rob Font is currently ranked number 10. If he can finally get to a winning streak, he would be due someone above him. more or less. And bantamweight's a really good division right now. There's a couple of fights. Again, there's this fight. There's another fight that will follow it on this same card between Cody Stamann and Song Yadong. That will be a very good fight. That will have ramifications. You have a couple of bantamweight fights next week at UFC 245. Among them, Peter Yan and the aforementioned Uriah Faber. Jose Aldo, former featherweight champion, will be making his bantamweight debut against former title challenger Marlon Moraes at UFC 245.
You're shitting me. He's going down a weight class?
Why? This has been announced for a long time.
Okay, hi, I'm Mark, and I don't pay attention.
Hi, Mark.
Hello. Okay, but let's talk about that for a sec. What, besides a large paycheck, would drive Jose Aldo to drop to bantamweight?
The lost Alexander Volkanovski.
But why not? I mean, you don't think he's competitive at lightweight?
I think he's competitive, but I don't think he's... Look, I don't know. I always thought if he was going to make a move, it would be up. So this surprised a lot of people. A lot of the talking points coming out of this have been, well, he's finally dieting properly for the first time in a while. He's never really had to maintain a strict diet to make 145. He just has a harder weight cut over the last, few weeks. Now he's really dieting and he's cutting down. I don't know. It's a really big ask. Marlon Moraes is not an easy out by any stretch of the imagination.
No, he was the guy that was murdering people in World Series of Fighting, wasn't he?
And very nearly became UFC bantamweight champion.
Yes, sir. Oh my. Ricky Simone with that glorious mullet.
Yes. He has the mullet.
Hey, Melissa! You gotta see this guy. When they show Ricky Simone again, you have to see this guy's hairdo. It's fantastic. So, just real quick before these guys clash hands here, with the loss to Volkanovski, Jose Aldo didn't decide to go play semi-professional soccer, which I thought was his dream.
No. He, again, is trying his hands there. He has now since claimed he has another 7 years of fighting left in him. I find that an incredibly dubious proposition.
Here he comes. And we are on... Look at that. Look closely. He has a...
That's not cute.
That is a glorious mullet.
That's bad.
Well, you heard it here first. By the way, Rob Winfree wants you to root for Uriah Faber next week so he loses, possibly dies in the cage.
That won't ever happen because I can't stand Uriah Faber.
You heard it here first.
No one can, but I do want him to go away. And if he takes... Look, Peter Yan's going to abuse him.
Okay, Rob Font starts off with a good right. He's got Simone backed up against the cage. Achieves the takedown, double leg. Simone gets back to his feet, turns Font around, and they are now clinched up against the cage. So, despite all of our shenanigans and insisting my wife get involved in things, that's where we are in the fight. Good knee from Simone.
That is just you, for the record.
Alright. Simone seems to have gotten his wits about him. I want Simone to win just because that mullet needs to go places.
Hey, he had a chance against Uriah Faber and then again, hurt him early, but is...
Did he have the mullet at the time?
He's always had the mullet. He came out of the womb with that mullet.
I believe you. Alright, Simone's really starting to turn it on here. Just fired off a leg kick.
Again, he is a very aggressive, kind of raw, wild, savage of a fighter.
He looks like a less on meth Carpenter.
That's pretty fair, actually.
For the record, if anyone doesn't know who the Carpenter was, what was his name again?
Clay Guida.
Thank you. Like, he's not bouncing all over the place like he's made of putty, or whatever Tigger was made of, like Clay Guida did. But he's a lot of, like, fast, jolty movements from Simone.
Mm-hmm.
Simone goes to the body. Font fires back with a combination punch, head kick.
I'm a little surprised. Simone is letting himself get backed up a bit too much to find a lot of success. He's usually more successful when he's the aggressor.
Well, as you started to say that, Simone mauled Font and went for the... he scored a couple of strikes, head and body, and then finally Font was knocked dizzy there for a second, and Simone took him down against the cage. Now Simone's got his back. They're kind of it looks like a half Nelson on him. Font stands up, but he's eaten a lot of knees in this round.
Yeah, Simone's clinch game is quite good.
Font tried to go for the headlock, but Simone's having none of it and slams him back down again.
Yeah, Font is struggling a little bit here. He's trying to wall walk, but Simone is doing a little bit of the, okay, fine, I'm not going to fight you too much while you get up, but I am absolutely going to hit a mat return as soon as possible, which is energy draining and demoralizing in the extreme.
So Font got back to his feet again, and they are squared off in the center of the cage. I'm wondering if Simone wouldn't do better to keep this... And, get the takedowns, as you said, when the opportunity arises. But as I say that, Font scores 2 to the face clean, and I don't know why he backed off of him. I thought the round was over the way he did that. Like he scored clean on Simone, very clean, and Simone looked like. He was dazed, and then Font just backed off of him, and now Font's on his back again.
Yeah, that was an odd scenario where they both kind of agreed to reset, it seems, rather than either of them really capitalizing.
You would have thought Font you didn't have to go crazy, but go in for the kill there.
At least maintain pressure. Even if you're worried about overplaying your hand, you do want to maintain a presence, not just let your man reset.
Right. Like I said, the way he walked away, his posture, I thought the round had ended.
Yeah, that takedown that Simone got was off of a bit of both a slip and a spinning back elbow attempt from Font. Very ill-advised.
All right. Now the round is officially over. I have to give that round to Simone.
Yeah, he was struggling early, but between the big barrage and then the takedowns and control time, yeah, good round for Ricky Simone.
And here we have a trailer for Jumanji: The Next Level. I know you're very excited.
If by excited you mean trepidatious, then yes.
Actually, what I expected you to say was go to hell.
Seems like a lot of work to say that.
Earlier in the day, Anthony Joshua, defeated Andy Ruiz by a wide margin, unanimous decision, winning on at least 2 scorecards, all but 2 rounds. Anthony Joshua content to circle, fight at distance, keep Andy Ruiz at bay with the jab. Ruiz just had nothing for him.
You mean actually box at distance and utilize the height and reach he has over the short, fat man with fast hands?
Yes. And Ruiz's excuse for losing the fight and losing badly was, I didn't train.
Considering he weighed in like 15 pounds heavier than their first fight, I believe him.
16, and they only said it 1,000 times during the broadcast.
I have not seen the broadcast, so...
No, I'm not. I needed to say that. They wouldn't let it go.
I mean, in fairness, neither would Ruiz, apparently.
All right, these fighters start off again in the cage. Font tries to get an early advantage. Simone shrugs him off. This is interesting. Simone threw a leg kick. Font tried to catch it, and then he tried to switch it to like a side kick.
Yeah, that happens a fair bit. It's a not uncommon sequence of events.
Font is scoring clean to the face. All the credit in the world to Simone's chin. He's eating them and not really backing off.
Yeah, Font, again, a very, very well-schooled, very technical fighter, and Simone, not exactly a defensive savant.
Again, clipped in the face. So the pattern is Font scores on the feet, rocks Simone. Simone then goes for a takedown, normally achieves it. This time Font finally used some of his defensive wrestling and shrugged him off.
Well, Font stuffed a few this round so far, and it's not a good thing for Simone if he's not able to secure some kind of counter offense off of Font constantly hitting him in the face. Font lowering his stance a little bit as well now and being mindful of the shots, as well as giving him a slightly straighter angle on the punches he's throwing.
Yep, and Simone's eating more shots. I don't love the fact that Simone doesn't commit Font doesn't commit when Simone's on the run.
He's very mindful about running into something, which, in fairness, is a valid concern against Simone, who you might have just seen there swinging a wild punch that Font might have walked into if he were doggedly pursuing recklessly.
Another takedown exchange, attempted guillotine by Font, or at least control of the head. Simone slips out and they're back on their feet again.
Yeah, that's one of Font's primary tactics for dissuading a lot of takedown attempts on him. He has good sprawling technique. He does a lot of front headlock sequence stuff to really kind of dissuade you or threaten you along the way. I mean, again, that whole sequence you saw there, Simone had to bail on the entirety of the position to get his head free, and that allowed Font to regain his feet and punch Simone repeatedly.
Yeah, the edge is going to Font in this round so far. Not sure what Simone can do at this point to take back the round with less than 2 minutes left. Besides knocking the guy out.
Yeah, he has to score something pretty big, because even a generic takedown wouldn't do it at this point. He'd have to actually do some pretty serious damage.
I like Font's stance. I mean, it gives him greater opportunities to sprawl and defend the takedown, which has been Simone's biggest bit of offense.
Yeah, that's a really nice adaptation he's made. He has lowered his stance significantly, and it is screwing with what Simone is trying to do.
Yeah, Simone is sort of showing himself to be kind of one-dimensional, one-trick pony. You know, he sort of had one game plan going in and has not really been able to adapt on the fly.
That's about the size of it at the moment. And again, Simone's a very young fighter, so there's plenty of room for him to grow. But he needs to have a backup plan here that he can go to in round 3, because, again, he's losing this round considerably.
Well, he took Font down again, another double leg. I mean, one thing I can say about Simone that has been consistent in these first 2 rounds is when he goes for that double leg, he's not fooling around. He commits. And he gets it almost every time. I mean, he's got a pretty high percentage of completion.
He's good about getting things to the mat. He's not nearly as good at the more important part of the equation, securing position.
Yeah. I think what he should do is take the guy down, then tag Damian Maia, and Damian Maia can finish for him.
That is not a useful suggestion. What he should be doing is trying to get these takedowns in the center of the cage, not against the fence, which allows Rob Font to wall walk relatively consistently.
All right, and he ate a few at the end of the round. 1-1, Font, Simone.
I agree. Good recovery round for Font, who bounced back after a tough first round. Font gets hit. He's fairly notorious at this point for getting buzzed in the first round, a little bit like that.
A bit of a slow starter, you say?
That and a guy who tends to rely on his reads more, and a lot of fighters who rely on reads are a little bit susceptible before they make them.
So who do you like in Tito Ortiz versus Alberto Del Patron in Combate tonight?
I like not watching it.
You know, you're not going to try to find it tomorrow? A post on YouTube or one of the lesser, more Yar sites? Watch it for your enjoyment?
No, I do not. Look, if something really crazy happens, I imagine it will be on Twitter. And I'm content to potentially look it up there if that's relevant. If not, then no. I am not terribly compelled by the sideshow.
Larry Zonka says that TNA will not be on whatever their streaming service is. I was going to suggest to him that he should get the Combate pay-per-view, but I don't think he trucks with my nonsense. We are at round 3.
You should absolutely suggest that to him.
If you're not busy, Larry. The first round, other than the takedowns, the other thing that was wildly successful for Simone were the knees, which were utterly absent in that second round. He started to use them here opening in this third round, and I hope if they're going to keep this on the feet, and he's not getting anywhere with the takedowns and the grappling, I'd like to see him go back to that. Clinch up and throw more knees. He was having great success with it.
Well, the knees were very successful, but they were a byproduct of him being able to clinch for long periods of time. Font has been much more diligent about clinch breaking since then.
And once again, Simone eats another series of punches.
Yep. Font doing a better job of pressuring him now along the cage. He's not giving him the same kind of outs he was before. And Simone has to resort to a takedown attempt to get his back off of the fence.
Good left there from Font. So he's screwing around with his left hand, Font is. Kind of moving it around, kind of sticking it in Simone's face. So I'm waiting for him to fire off a huge right, and it's not coming.
No, it's probably not going to. He's just going to he's just going to use it as kind of at face value at the moment. Especially given how high Simone is kind of keeping his left hand. There's certainly ways around it. Font has landed his right several times, but he's not dropping his hands the way that you would like to if you're going to really overcommit your weight and swing that punch. I mean, also Simone's takedown attempts are great at dissuading people from really swinging like that.
So Simone did complete another takedown, and he worked there for a minute. It was really smothering Font from side control, but Font is able to roll and get back to his feet, and Simone can't follow through once he gets Font to the ground. The pattern has been the same for almost 15 minutes here, where he gets him on the ground, and at least he tried his level best, it seemed, to put his weight on Font and keep him down, try to work for something. But Font is pretty strong, it seems. Gets back to his feet without much effort.
Yeah, he's not just physically strong, he's doing things technically correct, which is more important. He's not scrambling, he's not muscling any more than he has to. He knows how to escape the position. And Simone, again, is not, at the moment, all that great about establishing control. He's decent at getting you down, but he's really not good about keeping you there just yet.
This guy needs to go back to the gym and work on not getting hit.
That is something that a lot of fighters could use some more work on,
I mean, all the credit in the world. He's got a hell of a chin. I mean, he really only got knocked loopy once, and he's eaten a lot of punches tonight. But I mean, like his head is just static.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighters, especially in MMA, who move their head only when they're at distance and not actually being punched at. Rashad Evans was famous for this. He'd get commentary talking about, look at that head movement and the shoulder motion, and then as soon as he actually committed to his strikes, his head was on a ramrod straight up in the air. It's a pattern that is slowly being broken in the sport, but it is definitely a thing that has haunted the sport for a while.
Font laid in a couple of good lefts. Simone doing his level best here. Stop challenging the guy to fight you. It's not going to work for you.
No, but he doesn't have another idea.
It was funny because Ruiz kind of tried that at the end. Literally the 12th round, he stood with like a minute left, maybe. He stood in the center of the ring. It was like, fight me here, Joshua. And Joshua was like, nah, mate. It's okay.
Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Come on, fight me here. No, you come fight me here.
Yeah.
But you can't get here. You're fat.
Yes. In Andy Ruiz's defense, he's fat. All right, moving right along, we have our results. Rob Font has defeated Ricky Simone as we thought he would. Unanimous decision, 30-27 times 2 and 29-28. Apparently, 2 of the judges disagreed with me on one of those rounds. Such is life in the Windy City.
They're in D.C.
It doesn't matter. Cities are windy. Everybody knows it's windy. They also know it's corny. Everyone knows it's corny.
Fair enough.
All right, moving on to the next fight. Cody Stamann versus Song Yadong. Tell me about this fight.
This is a good fight. We have 2 ranked contenders. Cody Stamann comes into this fight at number 9 in the world. He's only lost once in the UFC. That was when he took a step up in competition against Aljamain Sterling, and he got Suluev stretched. It was an odd night. There were 2 Suluev stretches that night.
That's not a term I hear very often. What is this? What is a George Takei stretch?
Suluev.
Right. Sulu on Star Trek. Go.
No. Not at all. Sulu wants. It's kind of like a knee bar from the back.
Ow.
Like if you've got back mount, both your hooks in, you reach kind of over the top, and you grab one of your opponent's legs around the ankle, and you just kind of pull back or tip forward and then pull back. It's terrible on the hamstring.
That seems pretty high level, or not something people commonly think of to do.
It's a risky move. You can very easily lose the position.
Mm.
And again, Stamann got hit with one. That same night, Zabit Magomed Sharipov hit one on Brandon Davis. So again, that's his only loss this far in the UFC. He rebounded with a win in his last fight. Song Yadong is on a pretty big rampage. He's on a long winning streak, 7 fights overall, 4 of them in the UFC. He's finished most of those. His UFC run has thus far 3 finishes in it. He's coming off of a knockout win over Alejandro Perez. And the winner of this fight is, again, maybe not in the title picture, because the title picture is very, very confused at the moment, and bantamweight's just a really, really stacked division. But they're in a much better spot, and again, Song, which is his family name because he's Chinese and family names come first in the Chinese naming structure, Song being family, Yadong being his first name. But again, both guys are action-oriented fighters. Stamann is more the kind of the traditional grinder wrestler. Yadong, again, a lot of power. Really good kind of on the counter. He's been training out of Team Alpha Male for his last several fights, kind of shoring up his wrestling. And is a definite surging prospect for the division.
Looking at the UFC events coming up, I mean, it would be too soon if he wins this one. It'd be too soon to put him in South Korea. I mean, that's in 2 weeks. But
that poor card. It lost the main event this last week, and we've got an odd replacement.
Yeah, the answer, Frankie Edgar. Good for him.
Who still apparently plans to turn around a month and a half later and fight Cody Sandhagen at bantamweight. Yeah, that ain't happening, bud.
Good for him.
In all seriousness, if Frankie Edgar at like 38 years old fights Korean Zombie, wins in such a way that he does not take enough damage to be medically ineligible to then cut to 135 for the first time in his fighting career, and beats a rising star like Sandhagen, that will be one of the more impressive things in recent MMA history in that timetable.
So they're talking about a fight between Joanna Champion and the Chinese gal, the first Chinese champion in the history of the UFC. What's her name again?
I'm going to make you try and pronounce it.
Zhuang Zhang, Zing Zing Zang Zang Dong Ding Dong.
Not even close.
Hang on.
Weili
Zhang, yeah.
Yeah, Zhang Weili.
Right. They're talking about putting those two together, though I'm not entirely sure when. Rumor has it maybe UFC 248, maybe?
There's a few different places that fight could go.
But nothing, right now, there's nothing on the calendar that's in the East Asia area. The closest you've got, and it's not that close, would be New Zealand, which has already got a main event and is a fight night.
That is a great main event, too, by the way. That's Dan Hooker and Paul Felder.
Yes, sir. The 248 doesn't have a location just yet. And then after that, they've got a fight night in Brazil. I don't know if you'd want to do London for that one, which is also on the calendar. So
I don't know. We'll see it. I'll know more as they get announced.
Yeah, I
am not committing to any of these in the dark. Like, I need to know what's on the card.
Sure. I mean, you want to find a good spot for, I think, a good showcase spot for Zhang. You know, in an area where she'll be able to actually, outside of the UFC brand itself, being able to draw a crowd.
Yeah, that's not going to happen for her outside of China.
You know, I would assume Southeast Asia somewhere.
You might assume that. You'd probably be wrong.
The other way to go would be the other way around, which is somewhere in Europe, since you've got Joanna Polish.
Look, they're going to put it in Vegas. That's just what they're going to do.
There you go. Throw it in there with Connor and Cowboy.
It's a bit too soon to try and put that together at the moment. Plus, I don't think they're going to... They're okay with Connor and Cowboy main eventing. I think they'd have a harder sell trying to do Connor and Cowboy main eventing over a title fight.
They'd annoy somebody for certain.
Yeah, and that's not a boat they're necessarily looking to rock, and they're certainly not looking to give Conor McGregor any more leverage than he already has, and as a general rule.
Sure. So as we wait for the fight to start, next week we've got Usman versus one of my favorite fighters, Covington. Hot diggity dog. Colby Covington. How is this guy not Donald Trump's not his favorite fighter?
Because Jorge Masvidal exists.
Fair enough. So we've got your welterweight title fight in Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington.
Great fight.
Yep. You've got your boys, featherweight champion Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski.
Great fight.
And the greatest of all time, the commercial tells me, Champ, Amanda Nunes versus pig hostage Germaine Durandame.
It's a fight.
The aforementioned Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo.
Great fight.
And Peter Pan versus Uriah Faber.
Peter Yan, the Siberian gangster.
Is that what they're calling him?
Dude, I cannot believe you have never seen a Peter Yan fight.
I guess I will next weekend.
Look him up before then. This man is so good.
Okay.
Like, he brings genuine boxing skills into the cage with him.
I have
and
like
makes them work.
I have 900 Jack Dempsey fights to watch and a movie. I have enough homework as it is. Which, by the way, for those of you following our long, strange journey through heavyweight boxing history, will be the Chapter 2, which we'll be recording on Monday, provided I'm prepared for it.
For the record, I enjoyed your Part 1.
Good. Appreciate that. All right, here we go. Cody Stamann versus Song Yadong, diggity dong, ding a ding dang dong, ding a ling long. Wow, 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 wow. A little bit of ministry for you.
I did not understand the reference, so okay.
It's a reference to Jesus Built My Hot Rod.
You could have strung any sequence of words together there.
That's ministry's tribute to Ham Sandwich, and you'd have been like, sure.
When I said I had no clue about the reference, that was a complete statement.
All right, starting off a little slow here. Thus our continued conversation of Robert doesn't know my references.
Song is... He's not a very aggressive fighter most of the time. He tends to try to draw you out and then look to counter.
If I remember correctly, he's one of these guys who doesn't do a lot, but when he does it brutally.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Nothing. Oh, your head's gone.
And Stamann is... Again, while he is an interesting fighter to watch, is not going to do anything to put himself in too much danger.
Well, right now he's eating a bunch of punches to the nose. So, Song has got some quick hands.
Yes, he does.
Because he kind of steps forward, and he's thrown 3 or 4 before you know what hit you. I don't know how much mustard he's got on him, but they're landing.
He's again one of the few guys who will do a good job of landing off-speed punches to set up the real power, which is not a thing a lot of MMA fighters do. They tend to go hell for leather on every punch.
So he threw a spinning back kick there, and it kind of just got belted away by Stamann's hand. And Stamann gets a takedown. Now, how much danger is Song in on the ground?
In terms of like active physical danger, it's iffy. Stamann's not a tremendous threat to finish. But if he can't get up, he's in serious danger of losing rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Which is as sure a way to lose a fight as is getting knocked out.
So Song's got pressure on the head there. He's got him in a front face lock. And the guy's got good musculature in the arms. So if he's just leaning on you and he's using a vice grip, Stamann... Where are you putting the... Oh, shit!
You were saying?
He done forgot where he was and what he was fighting for. So Song had him in a front face lock. He had the vice grip on. He was using his musculature. And then done forgot this ain't pride and kneed this motherfucker right in the eye.
Always unfortunate when you see the illegal knee there.
and you took in total, and he's lost a point. And you can totally tell he just made now that's twice Song has made the I totally brain farted motion.
He, to his credit, at least he's aware that he goofed, and he's just kind of owning it rather than being no, he was up.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. No, he Good on him. He took the point loss in stride. And, and good on Saman for, eating it, shaking it off, and we're back up again. It's a tough loss, because if he doesn't win this round, it's an automatic 10-8.
Yeah. Point losses in in limited round fights are a really big deal. And credit to the ref for taking the point. It's absolutely deserved.
Now, you don't think he should have gotten a warning there?
Ooh, no. Look, yeah. I'm of the opinion we need more point deductions.
Okay.
Especially for fouls like this. Look, kneeing someone in the head when they're down, especially in that circumstance where Staman clearly had a knee down. Sorry, you should know better. That's entirely up to you.
Okay. I mean, I really can't argue with you on that. I guess I'm of the school of thought of,
You've just seen a lot. You've seen years and years of fighters getting umpteen warnings for poking someone in the eye or kicking him in the junk.
Sure. Fair enough. I mean, everybody makes mistakes.
Look, I'm not accusing him of being a dirty fighter or trying to cheat. He had a slip, and that's fine.
That is literally my sole argument for not taking the point.
Now, your intent is largely immaterial to the notion of taking a point. It's entirely relevant if you're going to take more than 1 point.
Fair enough. All right, Saman goes for another takedown. Song does a good job of kind of, I don't know if shrimping's the right word, but he doesn't sprawl. He just sort of collapses on him.
Yeah, he's really, it's like a modified version of down blocking. You put a lot of weight down on the opponent's shoulders and the back of their neck, and you drive them down into the mat, or off at an angle, rather than letting them drive through your hips.
So I'm comfortable giving that round to Saman 10-8.
Yeah, such as it was, I suppose. That's going to be an iffy round to score, though, because while he got the takedown, he didn't do a lot else.
Are you going on your cover with 9-9?
No, I'm probably going to go with Staman again. There's a bit of a late takedown attempt there as well. So, and again, Song didn't do well. He did land well. He didn't, definitively win the round apart from the point deduction. So. So I'm not gonna, complain too much about either way on that one.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood comes out on Blu-ray this week. There'll probably be a 9-hour director's cut.
I was about to make that joke.
Overhand from Song starts this round off.
Yeah, he's behind the 8 ball now. I mean, even if he won that round and was able to get a draw round out of it, he's now got to win the next 2 rounds. He does not have a margin for error.
So he comes out swinging on this one. He backed up Saman, threw a couple of good strikes. Saman just shot in for a takedown. And Song, I like your sprawl. I always like it when you put your dick in the dirt.
Yeah, he's been good about getting his hips down, and he's a hard guy to take down. And given that he trains with a very wrestling heavy camp at the moment, that's not surprising.
Did he just try for a foot stomp?
Probably.
Both fighters are back on their feet again. A lot of what we saw in the first fight, where they're going to the ground, but when they're there, they're not doing a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, while Staman is actually quite good generally at achieving control positions, you're seeing Song being very, very good about stifling what he wants to accomplish.
Vicious leg kick from Sadong. Looked like it buckled Staman. So Saddam keeps doing these like bull rushes where he throws a series of pitter patter punches. I kind of wish he would stop resetting when he does that. Maybe try something else while you're in close.
Yeah, I agree. He needs to do something when they're in close proximity, not just be able to disengage.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's helping him win the round either.
Some of that depends on what Staman is able to do relative to it. Song is able to land a fair bit, but he's not really fine. I don't know if it's his timing or if it's the distance that are off, but he's not finding the kind of sustained success you really would like to see out of him at this point.
Well, if you're the kind of judge that takes takedowns into account in terms of aggression and landed landed moves, then Staman has had the advantage this whole fight. He's getting these takedowns. He's damaged. That's the word I was looking for. You know, in terms of takedowns causing damage than being an aggressive move. He's done more damage than Song has.
That depends on how you score. Not just how you score takedowns relative to blows, but at what point is a takedown a takedown?
I mean,
is it just when their butt hits the mat? Is it when a knee gets down? How much value is it to get them down to their butt for 5 seconds but not do anything with it? The kind of duck under double leg he hit there was nice because he's able to actually get some time on top.
Okay, now look, there's an example. I don't know if your stream has caught up to this yet, but he went for a go behind waistlock, picked him up and drove him down. I don't know how you can't say that doesn't cause damage. He basically tackled the guy.
I'm not saying it's not relevant. I'm saying, again, you have to... But how do you... how much does it score relative to other things?
Well, look,
how much...
We're talking about this in absentia of doing any other critical damage.
If all you have are takedowns, the occasional slam, but you get punched a lot in the face, I tend to think you lose.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. But now that goes back to how many of those punches that Song throws in those exchanges land, and then how effective are they?
How many are blocked? That's a very legitimate question. There's also, if you consider those things being even, how do you then score aggression? How do you score octagon control in this circumstance?
As we're saying this, Song currently has the top position, and he nailed Staman in the face with an elbow. Song is now working from the guard, and he's eating a bunch of pitter-patter shots to the head before the round ends and they're broken up.
Another close round, but I don't know. Again, Staman was able to get some pretty serious control for sustained periods of time more in this round than even in the previous one.
Well, I think by that logic, and in the absence of anything significant that Song did, I would have to go 2-1 Stamaccio.
Yeah, I think that's certainly defensible. Even if it's not what is even if that's not the consensus, it's certainly a defensible position.
We shall see what the judge say in about 6 minutes. MMA Florida on Twitter 25 minutes ago said 30-27. I don't know about that.
Oh, about which fight?
The previous one.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, we both thought Simone took the first round.
Blackbird, our friend on Twitter, Blackbird22. You know, I'm all for knees to a grounded opponent and 12-6 elbows.
In all honesty, the knees to a downed opponent thing, I'm more willing to entertain. Look, 12-6 elbows should be legal because you shouldn't be elbowing the back of the head anyway. I'm actually, the more I think about that, I think I'm going to go with Song in that second round. But I don't know. Again, this is a tough fight.
Yeah, I can see this one being a split decision.
Or a draw after the point deduction.
Sure. Or a split draw.
That happens. Well, the last round here is going to be quite telling. If either man can get a big round out of this...
Or, hey, here's a radical thought. Maybe one of them could finish the fight.
Well, again, Song is mostly a finisher. He's up against a guy that's very hard to finish, is all.
Well, he's currently getting his ass beat. Staman took him down. He's currently actually held him down for the duration of the conversation we've been having. He seems to be cradling him for a pin.
Well, I mean, look, you can joke about the cradle because there are no pins. It's an incredible position of control, and if you can get it, it's really good about completely nullifying your opponent's ability to stand up. It adds about 4 steps to the process of regaining your feet.
Fair enough. I said cradle, and the first thing I thought of was Hulk Hogan winning the title against the Iron Sheik in Madison Square Garden. It was a tight cradle he had on him. Looked like the Sheik was going to kick out any minute now.
I don't know why you do that.
I could just yell out Mamma Mia if you want.
Hey, at least Mauro Ranallo is, a good announcer. Look, you're seeing Staman now again utilizing some good control positions. There's a lot of passing attempts that he stopped doing in favor of actually kind of securing where he is and not giving Song opportunities to regain his feet.
Staman is inching his way from half guard to...
That is a really awkward half guard, by the way. Like, that's not even technically half guard.
Okay, why? Because he's got the leg in between Song's legs, so how is that not half guard?
It's the wrong leg.
Okay.
We might be talking about different sequences. But there was one earlier where, again, like, if you want... Yeah, we were definitely talking about different ones.
Okay. He's in half guard now, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay.
The way I'm thinking about it, like, if they were in loosely this position, but... Like, Staman's left leg was in half guard on that same side, and his right leg was all the way. Like, it was just awkward.
So he is. I like what he's doing here. He is just jamming and grinding his forearms and elbows into Song's face. I don't love that he's driving it into the front of his neck, but I'm not entirely sure that was on purpose. Well, that shot to the back of the head might have been.
The driving stuff into the... You're not allowed to strike the throat, but you can apply pressure to it.
Yeah, well,
so if you get your shoulder there, you can just grind into it all you want.
Well, it was more of his, like... He didn't have, like, a full-on rape choke going on, but he had, like, his forearm was across the
The
throat.
forearm is legal, actually. You can't use the webbing of the fingers, but you can just... If you get your forearm there, yeah, you can just lean on him.
Really? You can just you can just choke a guy out with the forearm on his Adam's apple?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're a complete moron if you have to tap to that. I bring that up because it happened a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Lower level MMA.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the forearm on the throat like that, perfectly legal. Otherwise,
right.
A bunch of rear naked choke variations wouldn't be legal.
All right, fair enough. I didn't think about that. So yeah, I think it was more of him doing it from the top that was sticking out in my mind. So as we're saying all this, Staman is just having his way with Sadong's face.
Yeah, Song is in serious trouble here. He's been overly reliant on explosiveness and muscle exertion to get out of positions before, and the lack of technique is biting him. And Staman is all over him.
Yeah, he is just punching him upside down, upside his face, nonstop. Sadong is saved by the bell.
Okay, seriously, stop with the sadong. It's either song or yadong.
Have I been saying sadong?
That's kind of what it sounded like.
Okay, well, I'm not doing it purposefully. We shall be back in just a second with the official decision. All right, we got a decision, and I nailed it. Nailed it, I tell you. We've got a majority draw. 29-27 and 28-28 times dose.
Yeah, again, I feel bad for Staman. He certainly closed the strongest. I mean, the third round was definitively his.
Sure.
And, you know, if we were under the new rules, and we are not, we are under the old rules. Under the new rules, there might be an argument for Staman 10-8 in the third, which would have changed the scoring to his favor. But, alas and alack, we are under the old rules, where you have to nearly kill someone to get a 10-8.
So, explain the new rules, old rules thing in terms of why these are not applied universally.
Why there are different...
Why are we doing a fight here in the DC under old rules, but next week in we're going to do it under new rules? Like, why isn't everyone doing new rules?
I'm not sure Vegas is the new rules, actually, now that I think about it.
Okay.
Well, okay. The reality is that changes to the unified rules of MMA have to be approved commission to commission.
Mm-hmm.
So
but this has been going on for like 10 years now.
Yeah. Each individual state has to decide whether they wish to adopt the changes to the unified rules or not. And some places use part of them, but not other parts. Because the big changes for the newer rules, and these were put into place a few years ago, they were voted on by the collection of boxing boards, the ABC, I believe, is the official acronym. Initialization, rather. My apologies. And they just have to be adopted by individual states pursuant to the specific rules and regulations of the individual states. I mean, there's at least one state, I can't remember if it's Virginia or West Virginia, that doesn't actually have an athletic board, and any change that is made to the regulation of combat sports has to be done via state constitutional amendment.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That seems awfully convoluted.
Welcome to bureaucracy.
Take that, those people who want more government-run stuff.
You are not wrong. So, anyway, point being, the big changes to the newer set of rules, and even this changed actually very recently. Initially, because the old rule about a downed opponent is the big one. The old rule is if you have anything other than the soles of your feet touching the mat, you are downed, and can therefore not be kicked or kneed in the head. It led to all kinds of problems where fighters were bent over at the waist against the cage and would have one hand down, like fingertips, and then up and down and up and down, and it was kind of a thing. So the rule was changed to, okay, you need both hands, be they palms or fists, flat on the mat. If you do not have either, or a knee down, that's always been the rule. If your knee's down...
So if you're in a 3-point stance, you can take a knee to the face.
Yes. Now, that was changed recently.
Oh, no.
It was amended to be, you can have something... If anything other than the soles of your feet are on the ground, and load-bearing, you are considered downed. The relevant change in question is actually a change to the language of scoring criteria. Because the old language around scoring a 10-8 requires a near finish, a fight that arguably should have been stopped, domination for a prolonged period of time, or a significant amount of damage. Usually in some combination, I think this is how stupid the scoring language is. It might be 2 of the 3. So if you have sustained domination for a long duration, you can have a 10-8. If you have a lot of damage, while you are dominating, even if it's for a slightly shorter duration, if you do enough damage from a dominant position within the context of the fight, you can then get it. Like it's just bizarre. The new rules, the newer language around it, is more akin to is slightly more along the lines of, if you win the round by a wide enough margin, a 10-8 is justifiable. Under that scoring criteria, there is an argument for the third round going to Staman 10-8. It's a marginal 10-8, but there's an argument.
Okay.
Under the old scoring criteria, no.
Okay.
You asked.
I feel sheepish.
It is the nature of the sport at the moment, for better and for worse.
That's my answer to that. All right, tell me about this next fight. We got Aspen Ladd versus...
Go with the one you can pronounce.
Aspen... Hey, I did well with this one earlier. Aspen Ladd versus Yana Kunitskaya.
There you go.
I'm about 1 for 20.
Better than your average.
Yes.
This is a somewhat relevant fight. Aspen Ladd was previously undefeated and was in a title eliminator with Germaine de Randamie, and then she got starched in like 16 seconds. She got hit with a really hard right, got sat down. It looked like a follow-up left from Germaine de Randamie landed, and that's when the referee kind of stepped in, but replay shows the follow-up blow doesn't land all that flush. Aspen Ladd actually tried to get the results of the result overturned, intimating that the fight was stopped because they were women fighting and therefore it was sexist. Believe it or not, that ridiculous argument got the result of the fight was upheld by a vote of like 4-3. The dumbest thing. Never mind that half of Aspen Ladd's stoppage wins benefit from that same bias, if you want to say it exists. Like, there's so many of her stoppage that are like she's on top screaming as she punches with mostly ineffectual blows that are mostly blocked, but she's screaming. Like, it's just stupid. That fight, Aspen Ladd also had just like the worst weight cut imaginable. The video of her weighing in is genuinely difficult to watch if you have a soul. So I feel
like I was aware of this, and she looked emaciated. She
was like shaking. Like,
yeah. I remember that was a big deal. Like, that was the talk of the town.
She could barely stand still long enough for the antiquated mechanical scale to register a consistent reading. Can you tell I'm a fan of digital? It was a terrible weight cut. Like, and this was California, I believe. So the CSIC actually banned her from competing at bantamweight in the state of California until she gets doctor's clearance or proves she can do it. Like, she was actually banned from fighting in this weight class in that state for a period of time because of how bad that weight cut was.
Nice.
Anyway, now Germaine de Randamie, of course, went on to fight for the title next week, assuming nothing crazy happens, which is not a scenario any of us that had to live through her short-lived featherweight title reign, if you want to call it that, ever expected her to be in again.
Yeah, how did she end up getting this fight? Or did they just need a pig hostage for
Amanda
Nunez to just cut through?
There is no one else. Again, that was going to be Aspen Ladd if Aspen Ladd won. Germaine de Randamie won. In fairness to Germaine de Randamie, she hasn't lost at bantamweight in quite some time. Like, it's not like she's a bad fighter by any stretch of the imagination. And Kunitskaya she came into the UFC at featherweight to fight Cyborg and got bludgeoned. She's won her 2 fights since then. And this is a relevant fight for the division, such as you wish to consider the division itself relevant. You have number 5 Aspen Ladd against number 7 Kunitskaya. I mean, neither of these women has much of a prayer against Amanda Nunes, if it comes to that.
So all this time I'm thinking we're talking about featherweight because I know that's a division that was pretty much being, a placeholder for, a place for Cyborg to fight, and then she went to Bellator. But I'm realizing this is the bantamweight division. This was the division that all the women were fighting at for at least one period of time. And they're really having this much trouble fighting decent people for Amanda Nunes to fight at bantamweight.
Yes.
The fuck's she gonna do? She can't cut to another weight class.
Retire.
Just take both belts home and cancel bantamweight and featherweight.
Well, featherweight featherweight doesn't exist to begin with.
Which exists more, flyweight or featherweight? Like men's flyweight or women's featherweight?
Men's flyweight.
That's still around, huh? All right.
Technically, yes.
So our ladies start the fight here, and as I focus in on the fight and stop making ridiculous jokes, speaking of ridiculous, what the hell is Kunitskaya wearing? But second of all, they are clinched against the cage. In case you're like, why aren't you calling the fight that's been going on for 40 seconds? Because that's all they've done is clinch against the cage.
She's wearing... That's official fight gear. You can have those, fight skirts, apparently, if you're so inclined. She's not the only one that wears them.
What about the draping tank top she's wearing?
Yet another somewhat holdover from the old rules. The new rules actually do have are more specific about what you can and can't wear.
It's like first of all, she looks like a women's tennis player, not a fighter.
Yeah, you can wear. You're not. Well, first of all, a lot of women are just uncomfortable going out there only in their sports bra. There have been a few wardrobe malfunctions.
Fair enough. Well, if you're wondering, hey, guys, call the fight. Focus in on the ladies here. They deserve your respect. Breaking news. They're clinching. They broke briefly. They're clinching again. And the women's tennis player has currently got Ladd against the fence. Yeah,
this is a position Ladd's going to... I mean, look, we can joke about this being a boring position all we want. The reality is this is something Ladd is going to have an answer for, or she's going to get put here a lot.
Well, she's currently losing the fight as she's taking knees to the belly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all that's happening here. They have ballroom dancing, and occasionally Ladd gets several knees to the belly. And good on Kunitskaya for being tall enough and having good leg reach to get those high knees in there, because they're landing.
She's also doing a good job with her upper body control. Her head positioning is good. It's not great. Ideally, you want to have your head under the opponents. Kunitskaya, the break that we saw earlier was actually because Kunitskaya grabbed the fence to help maintain the position. Credit to the ref for taking the position away.
They're still clinched, but they were off the fence there for a minute. Ladd changes levels, and hey! Hark! A takedown. Aspen Ladd still's got Kunitskaya wrapped around the shoulders. She's working from the half guard position.
Yeah, not the best showing from Aspen Ladd so far.
Well, I mean, she effectually took away the knees to the belly by doing that, so hooray?
Yeah, again, it's something. And normally, Ladd is more aggressive than this, but Kunitskaya's clinch game has, again, even though we're not there at the moment, the reality of it and having experienced it seems to have thrown off her game plan for the moment.
Halfway decent elbow there from Ladd. So she's doing, again, she's got that forearm there tucked neatly in the woman's neck. Nicely done.
Again, completely legal.
Now, Kunitsaya is going to attempt to get to her feet here, but in doing so, she's given Lad her back, and Lad is pounding away at Kunitsaya's face.
And if you were listening, you could hear a lot of screams while she desperately hopes the ref stops this because they're women. Jokes aside, this is kind of what Lad does. Once she gets a dominant position, she's really good about just laying in offense until the referee feels compelled to stop things.
That's the end of round 1. So, Kunitsaya controlled most of the round in the clinch, and her strikes were knees to the belly. But Lad turned it around in the last minute or so and pounded Kunitsaya about the face. How do you score it?
Yeah, I imagine it's Lad. I mean, she had... While she was technically losing the positions along the fence, she's the one who inflicted the most damage throughout the course of the fight, or the round. She's the one who... she won the round, and you can do it with a big flurry at the end of a round, especially if you haven't lost the rest of the round big. Plus, again, if you get a replay of some of the shots she's throwing, she's not landing a whole lot. Like, she's throwing, there's a lot of good defense from Kunitskaya. And there's a lot of stuff that's blocked or doesn't land flush. And again, I think, and you combine that with positional dominance of getting the back the way she did. I still stand by her winning the round, but that's not a near stoppage necessarily.
So the ladies start off, they are circling and exchanging punches. A couple of leg kicks from Kunitsaya. Pretty even back and forth to start round 2. A lot of push punching from Lad, where she's not throwing a punch so much as she's extending her arm and shoving it into Kunitsaya's face.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I don't love that style of punching. You're just kind of arming it out there, and you're not really using your shoulders.
Neither do I. It's really, really ugly, and doesn't really serve a whole lot of purpose, apart from either just straight up distance measuring, or trying to disrupt your opponent.
I mean, and I guess you got good hand wraps on. You're gonna break your wrist doing that.
Even with good hand wraps.
All right. Stop me if you think you've heard this one before, but they're clinched against the fence. And Kunitsaya is returned to what buttered her bread in the first round. Knees to the belly.
In fairness, bodywork is a smart investment of time and energy. And especially someone like Lad, who, the status of her cardio is somewhat questionable, especially if you really, really make her work. It's a shame Kunitskaya can't get more of her hip into some of these knees, because if she could really dig a few of these in, she might be able to have greater effect on what's happening. She's just kind of getting to the target at the moment rather than really driving.
Cutting elbow there from Kunitsaya. Not sure how much contact it made. I guess slashing is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, Ladd is really complacent in a lot of these. I hate to say complacent like she's not doing anything. But she does not have the sense of urgency that she needs to get out of these clinch positions. Unless she's just absurdly confident in her ability to get to just repeat the last 90 seconds of the first round.
All right, takedown by Ladd, and she's in full guard.
As I said, apparently she is.
We have 1 minute and 20 seconds left, and unless she does something here, I'm not loving this round for Ladd.
No, this has not been a great round for her. Even the stuff on the feet, she was not doing all that well.
Some elbows there from Ladd from the top. Kunitskaya is controlling her head, though, so she can't create a tremendous amount of distance and put some power into those strikes.
Yeah, Kunitskaya's bottom game at the moment is a lot of, hey, ref, come on, we're stalled here. Which,
to her credit, she threw some elbows.
In all fairness, the fact that you can stall like that in MMA without being penalized for it, apart from ostensibly losing the round by being on your back, I guess, is a thing.
Are we still doing that? Are we still judging fights because,
again, I'm not saying in this circumstance that this negates all the work Kunitskaya did previously. I just mean, like, there's a general... Again, like, there is no penalty for stalling from the bottom.
I would like to think that at this point we've moved past the you lost the round because you were on your back. This isn't wrestling.
No, but you do tend to lose the round if you're on your back.
How archaic. What dinosaurs?
Well, some of it's archaic. Some of it is also a function of reality. Like, if you just take that minute in isolation where Kunitskaya is on her back, who's winning that minute?
It's a fair counterpoint.
And again, I'm not saying Ladd won the round because of it. I don't think she did. But...
So, I'm going to go 1-1. Excuse me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, we begin round 3 here. Oh, shit! Ladd with what it looked like an overhand just knocked Kunitskaya on her ass, and Ladd jumps in for the kill. Kunitskaya is covering up and rebounding, but Ladd takes her back.
Ladd has power. She just doesn't have great technique, especially with her lead hand. But on the back, she's going to try to flatten her out and just lay in a bevy of arm punches that just come fast enough that the ref will step in and stop it.
Well, to her credit, she was nailing her in the side of the head, which looked partially blocked, but hey, I'm not going to argue. Ladd laid her out there from the back with a series of elbows to the side of the head-ish. And the ref said, no mas.
Yeah, a good finish from Ladd, but not a good performance overall.
All right, we have our results, and it's official. Aspen Ladd in the third round at 33 seconds defeats Yana Kunitskaya via TKO punches to the dome. Welcome to the Terror Dome. All right, Stefan Struve is 20 feet tall. Ben Rothfeld is 20 feet wide.
I wish I had a better way to hype this, but I don't.
Stefan Struve, at 10 years in the UFC, still doesn't know how to fight at distance. Ben Rothwell hits hard when he hits you.
Ben Rothwell, also 10 years in the UFC. I mean, also doesn't have a jab, but he doesn't have 86 inches of reach or whatever stupid number Struve has. Stefan Struve is 7 feet tall. He frustrates me. Watching Stefan Struve fight is one of the most frustrating things I can do because the man can't jab, and he's enormous, and he's Dutch. And he trained for a while with Semi Schilt, who's also like 7 feet tall. It was a great kickboxer and actually famous for never letting his opponent reliably close distance on him.
Stefan Struve is a wiry motherfucker. That guy could get his limbs through like the gaps in a fence, a chain link fence.
That's only by comparison to the rest of his body. He's not that skinny, if you look at the reality of it.
No, his torso isn't, but his arms are like pencil thin.
No, they're not. They just look that way because they're on his body. I guarantee you, look up pictures of him next to other people.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a tremendous amount of arm muscle mass.
Okay, no, he's not, he's not ripped. He's not, built like that, but his arms only look really skinny because they're on him and he's in there with other guys who are, very big.
I have to see how he shows up. I didn't look at him in the weigh-ins or anything. I don't ever watch the weigh-ins. But I got to see how he looks in the cage against Ben Rothwell. Because what I remember Stefan Struve was winning a fight, waving his arms around in like a circular motion, and I thought he was going to take flight like a helicopter.
I don't remember that ever happening, but I'll take your word for it.
All right, so tell me about this wonderful heavyweight extravaganza we've got. Big Ben Rothwell, who, if he can get his paws on you, will maul you like a bear.
Hang on, that used to be true. Ben Rothwell's on a 3-fight losing streak. That includes a couple of years off for a drug-related issue, by which I mean he failed a drug test.
Oh.
Look, in all fairness, he probably should have. The decision in the Blagoy-Ivanov fight was a little bit dubious. I mean, the fight itself was just so bad. Who could possibly care about arguing it?
So I'm looking at Stefan Struve. He's pacing around in the cage.
He looks like a giant dick. I don't mean that as a comment on his personality. I mean, he has the physical structure of a penis.
I'm looking specifically at his biceps and shoulders, and he's not quite as spaghetti armed. I mean, he's not olive oil. But he's still, for an enormous man, for a professional fighter, I wish he would do some, maybe hit the gym and work on his shoulders. Just a little bit.
Some of that is also a byproduct of his weight. Stefan Struve's official weight for this fight was 265.3 pounds. He does not have a tremendous amount of room to grow muscle mass if he still wants to make weight.
That's true. They don't have a super heavyweight division, and he is a tall boy.
Again, 7 feet tall. Look at him next to the fence. His shoulders are tall. He could rest his armpits on the top of the fence. He is an enormous human being.
He could Big John Studd, Andre the Giant, over that cage, couldn't he?
Yes. And again, the fact that his deltoids are roughly the size of a normal human being's head only makes them look small because they're on his body.
How Stefan Struve hasn't tried to get into acting, I'll never know.
Because he's Dutch.
Yeah, but I mean, look, if Kevin Nash could play the heavy in certain films at his height with his acting ability, you're telling me Marvel couldn't have made some use out of Stefan Struve?
Nash also spent years in a business that rewarded facial expression and the ability to talk on a mic.
Sure.
Neither of those things are true for success in the UFC.
This is also true.
They help. I'm certainly not going to pretend that they don't help, but they are not necessary. All
right. So, we haven't actually talked about how one might win this extravaganza. You want to give it a whirl in 30 words or less? As the fight is about to begin? Boom, heavyweights. I did it for you. Okay.
Look, this fight is probably going to wind up in the pocket, and both guys are going to swing punches. One of them's going to land, one of them's going to fall over.
All right, well, it's not over yet, Pally. And we're almost 30 seconds into it.
I didn't say right away. I said it'd wind up there.
I half expect it to be over by now.
That's because you are optimistic.
All right, and Dutch kickboxer Stefan Struve throws a lazy body kick.
Why won't you jab? Why won't you jab? It physically pains me to watch this man not use he's 6 inches of reach, and he's 8 inches taller.
In his defense, he seems to like to throw the front kick, which is kind of a jab.
No, he doesn't like to. He's not doing it well. He uses it as an excuse not to jab. Like, hey, I'm doing this. I don't have to jab.
In his defense, he is a Dutch kickboxer.
That is not defense. Again, I just mentioned Semi Schilt.
Well, he's not a good kickboxer.
Okay, that is true.
All right, we had a straight and then a cross from Stefan Struve that Ben Rothwell kind of ate. He followed up with a body kick, and Ben Rothwell said, "No mas." And so we are tied up against the fence.
Yeah, expect a lot of this.
I was kind of hoping they would just throw paws at each other.
We all know what you were hoping for, Mark. And I don't mean that derogatorily. But it's not. That's just not going to happen.
Still up against the fence.
When I said there's going to be a lot of this.
Jockeying for position. Yep. And we have somewhat of an awkward trip.
Yeah. That's the thing.
But they're back up against the fence in the exact position they were a minute ago. A little bit of a kick from Stefan Struve while he leans up against the cage. And Ben Rothwell is trying to do a takedown on a man who's 12 feet tall.
I mean, it's not that hard to get Struve down. His takedown defense isn't exactly the stuff of legend.
Well, no, but he's going to put... Like, he tried to muscle him down by locking him about the body. And Stefan Struve is 20 feet tall. So it's kind of hard to do when you're that tall and you can keep planting your feet. You have to get lower. You really have to, like, risk eating a knee to the face, change levels, get him about the thighs.
Yeah, you do have to get lower because you're really unlikely to get just a pure upper body takedown.
Stick your face in his dick and grab him around the thighs and hoist him. And speaking of in the dick,
we've had a couple. None of them have been too bad. But we have had a few low blows this evening.
Stefan Struve looks like he was shot.
I mean, Stefan Struve's never been shot. And he's not that good an actor.
And Ben Rothwell, kicked him in the jimmy.
Oof. Yeah, that was a rough one.
Yeah. Top of the penis, right there. Stefan Struve's balls are in his mouth. Stefan Struve is praying to any god that will listen that he has a working penis after Ben Rothwell kicked it through the back of his ass.
I mean, look, if Sergei Karatanov still had one going after the kick Matt Mitrione landed on him, like, it takes a lot to permanently damage that.
I wish I had remembered that happened because I would have said Stefan Struve was kicked so hard, Sergei Karatanov fell off his couch. They may stop this fight. He's still making pained faces.
Yeah, again, look, Stefan Struve is not a good enough actor for this to be him milking it.
No.
Like, that was oh god, yeah, the angle on that as we get yet another replay. Watch the angle of the toes from Rothwell. Like, they kind of slide down into the groin before they glance up. Like, that's a really... Plus, depending on the type of cup that Struve has, if it's not secured very well, it's entirely possible to get one of your testicles caught between, like, your body and the edge of the cup. I don't know that that's what happened, but just for the record, if you're not dealing with one that's really securely in there, that is a thing.
All right, well, at least now he's standing.
Well, he has up to 5 minutes to recover, and there have been instances of fighters getting to the full 5 minutes and then going, yeah, okay, I can continue now. We're just very used to fighters going, no, I've got to get back in there as soon as possible to stop my body from cooling down.
Oh, he's shaking it off. I think we're ready to go here. He's shaking. He's shimmying.
And he's down on his knees again.
And he's hunched over.
You know, in all seriousness...
Can we get one of the ring girls to jerk him off?
That would not help.
It might.
And no, they're on ESPN.
Go to a commercial.
It wouldn't help. There's too much blood flow to the rest of the body.
What if they just tickle the sack a little bit?
Also not all that helpful. Look, there's a lot of, like, bro science about what to do after you get hit in the balls really hard.
Hand job, not one of them?
Yeah, I'm sure some jackasses tried to use it as a methodology of scoring. There's people who say, like, hey, do sumo squats or walk around or put your arms up. And here's the reality. It's all, like, placebo BS. It just really, really sucks. And if you have something that works for you, Godspeed and party on. I know there's probably someone out there going, no, I totally do the sumo squat thing. It helps. Look, if it works for you, it works for you. Good on you. Keep doing it.
All right. I think the doctor is leaving the cage. Oh, shit. We might have a fight still in our hands. Yep, here we go. With 1 minute and 36 left. Stefan Struve attempted to, like, a crane kick, and he got caught by Rothwell, who is now rocking him about the face.
In all seriousness, the first round shot to the groin, because no one takes a point for a groin shot, especially the first one, is something that you should just use. Like, it's almost written into the rules at this point. Everybody gets one kick to the dick. That will go by unpenalized, despite it being against the rules.
We've had this conversation. You risk the fight being over.
I'm aware of that.
They burned down... No, God damn it, I keep doing that. It was the eye poke that where Mexico burned to the ground.
Yes. It was an eye poke that sparked a brief riot. I mean, look, I think it was Jeremy Lambert I heard refer to Czech Congo as the smartest fighter in the sport because he always takes advantage of that, hey, I get to hit you in the dick once. Every fight, there is... In all seriousness, if you're not going to take a point for it, you may as well use the free foul.
So Stefan Struve keeps trying to end this via head kick, and Ben Rothwell makes him suffer for it every single time.
Good read for Rothwell. And, oh, by the way, of course, no point deduction for Rothwell.
No. Oh, hey, the round's over. Oh, good. Commercial break. We couldn't have done this. We couldn't have done this while the guy was, maybe even do Brady boxes. We couldn't have gone to one of these while he was recovering from the kick in the dick. Who's running this monkey shine?
There's no... You can't cut away from a commercial early. So you would be gambling on the fighter taking at least 30 seconds to recover.
AEW has the Young Bucks putting their heads through tables during commercials. But they do Brady boxes.
I don't care what TNT does for AEW. Look, I'm not opposed to more of that in MMA. I'm really not. I'm just saying that they choose not to. Again, why? I don't know. Maybe the sponsors don't like picture-in-picture stuff.
Why are the ring girls wearing shirts that say Booyah?
Because of that sportscaster from ESPN who died of cancer.
Oh. That's
Booyah was
sad.
like his trademark, wasn't it? He died in like 15. I forget his name. They've been mentioning it all evening, but I can't remember for the life of me.
I thought it might have been because of the Booyah tribe. I don't expect you to know what that is.
I do not.
Let's move on. Kitty knows. Hi, Kitty. All right, round 2. And they are...
For the record, I'm going to give that first round to Stefan Struve.
Sympathy for the dick?
No, his kicking game was like the objectively most effective thing from the round.
Oh, look at that. Stefan Struve got a receipt.
Stefan Struve gave a receipt.
Sure.
Rothwell was on the receiving end.
I got it. Uppercut there from Stefan Struve. Eats a few from Rothwell.
Please let this end this round. If this goes into the third, I don't want to see what happens.
So Rothwell willing to eat some punches from Stefan Struve in order to get in close and tie him up against the cage. I'm not really sure what Rothwell's strategy here is. The
notion that Ben Rothwell has a strategy is kind of where you're falling apart there.
Rothwell, I don't think, is known for his ground game.
Yes and no. It's weird. He's like the only guy in MMA to legitimately submit Josh Barnett.
Oof.
But you don't think of him as like this great jiu-jitsu player.
No, that's where my head's at. So, why he's insisting on getting Stefan Struve to the ground is beyond me.
Yeah, he's kind of a bit of a grindy wrestler. He just wants Struve on the mat so he can try to do stuff from there.
Come on, Stefan Struve. I want to lay down with you so I can do stuff to you. In Stefan Struve's defense, he's doing a good job of circling.
And no. Rothwell is doing a lousy job of cutting him off.
Buckling leg kick from Stefan Struve. Ben Rothwell recovers, drives him into the fence.
Yeah, Struve's leg kicks have been his most effective offense this round and this fight. You asked me, like, who's going to win this fight and how? This is why I didn't answer. There are no winners, only losers.
Well, it is heavyweight.
I am aware. It is my least favorite division by a significant margin.
Good uppercut from Ben Rothwell in the clinch. Stefan Struve breaks away. kind of with you.
I have
I'm waiting
no
for
idea.
Stefan Struve to jab.
Yeah, I've been waiting 10 years.
Come on! The fuck? And another kick to the genitalia. Count 'em 3 dick kicks. One dick kick.
At this point, these two should just square up in the middle of the octagon and play Rochambeau.
2 dick kicks. 3. This is longer than a 5-round fight at this point.
That is not true. It's getting there, but it's not true yet. And it certainly feels longer. I will absolutely give you that.
Where is his dick? Above his belly button?
Look, I can't speak to his measurements.
Well, he should be hard as a rock in there, especially now.
Look, some people don't grow all that much. I shouldn't have to explain this to you, Mark.
Well, I don't know where he's stuffing it, but where he just got kicked was kind of high up on the waist.
He might be milking it at this point in the sense that he got kicked legally, but he's still just kind of so soft around the lower abdomen that it feels like it. That happens.
I keep my penis in my lower intestines.
Again, I want to give Struve the benefit of the doubt because I know he's not this good an actor. It might have glanced. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get replays. Because you always get replays of the dick shots. Boy, that poor guy. I mean, look, I joke, but in all seriousness. Oh, okay, I see what happened. If you get a replay, watch Rothwell's toes and like the very top of the instep of his foot. The toes kind of like get deep into the crease of like where the thigh meets, and then the top of his foot is into the cup.
I think we might be calling an end to this fight.
And in a sane sport, Ben Rothwell will be disqualified. And look, let me be clear, I'm not accusing him of doing this on purpose. All right?
You shouldn't be grossly incompetent either.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're in the NBA, you don't get to... you got fouled. Yeah, but he didn't mean it, so you don't get your free throws. Like it is one of my genuine pet peeves about the officiating of the sport. That...
There you go. You lost the point.
If they're taking a point, that probably means the fight's going to continue.
This just in. Charlo has defeated Hogan by technical knockout in round 7.
Good for him.
I didn't cover that fight tonight because I wanted to cover Overeem versus Rozenstruik.
And here we are talking about a man who looks like a giant penis getting kicked in his penis.
Yes. And Rothwell looking to end this before we have a 4th dick kick.
Or with a 4th dick kick. We're not sure which. I mean, again, joking aside, Struve continuing, man, after those 2 kicks, from a guy like Rothwell, who's... You may not think of his kicking game as, devastating, like a pretty kickboxer's, but your legs carry the majority of your weight, and you just kind of swing those at somebody, especially when you got 2 guys who weigh north of 260 pounds. You get a lot of credit for trying to gut through that. And you get more credit for Rothwell being stupid and not actually attacking the body at this point in time.
Wouldn't it be funny if Ben Rothwell punches Stefan Struve in the dick this time?
You might be able to get away with a punch more than a kick.
All right. Oh, we might be seeing an end to this, for the love of God. Yep. Ben Rothwell just goes mug 'em crazy and pounds Stefan Struve upside the face. Definitely missing his dick. Good for
Again, we cannot speak to his measurements.
Good for Ben Rothwell. Sorry for Stefan Struve. And for all of you who treasure your penises, we are sorry.
God bless Stefan Struve and the children he will now never have.
All right. Your winner, Big Ben Rothwell, defeats Stefan Struve via TKO according to the wiki bullshit win. Round
it
2,
wasn't.
45, 4 minutes and 57 seconds. On my scorecard, I have Ben Rothwell winning via death by 1,000 dick kicks.
I mean, it was 2.
Too many.
I don't disagree with that.
Next up, we have a catchweight fight.
Because Cynthia Calvillo is fat.
Against Marina Rodriguez. Now tell me about this fight.
Rodriguez. She is Brazilian.
Ugh.
Hey, I'm gonna keep doing it. Get used to it.
I'm gonna eat my marshmallow delight. Tell me about this damn fight.
It's a fight. Look, Cynthia Calvillo was poised to be, kind of like the new thing at strawweight. She debuted, had at least 2 really, really good wins. I mean, she debuts in the UFC at 3-0, immediately submits Amanda Cooper and Pearl Gonzalez. Cooper in the first, Gonzalez in the third. Shows a lot of promise over those 2 fights. Then she takes a somewhat short notice fight. Well, excuse me, she does those. Beats Joanne Calderwood via decision. Calderwood missed weight. Takes a short notice step up to fight Carla Esparza at the end of 2017. Has one of the most bizarre fight performances you will ever see. She clearly wins the first round. Like, clearly. And then for the next 2 rounds proceeds to do none of the things that had her win the first round. She never tries to grapple after. She gets outstruck by Carla Esparza. Okay, that's what happened. She also failed a drug test. Granted, it was for marijuana, and the standards were different then than they are now. So she served a 6-month suspension, comes back to fight Poliana Botello, misses weight. She weighs 118 pounds for that fight. Wins via rear naked choke in the first round. Fights Courtney Casey. Wins, but it's not good. A lot of her momentum has seemingly stalled. There was a lot of talk about her being like absolutely breakout fighter of the year in 2017. Now that stalled a little bit, and then she missed weight for this fight, and I really do have to reiterate this point, by 5.5 pounds. Okay, 4.5 for the non-title fight, but I say this all the time. They'll give you an extra pound for non-title fights. The limit for, in this case, strawweight, is 115 pounds. They don't care if you're a pound over for non-title fights for some reason. But you are still, you're still technically missing weight in some respects when you're like 116 for a 115 fight. Just no one cares, and it's not actually an infraction of the rules for whatever reason. Calvillo weighed 120.5. Like, this is an absurd miss.
I mean, it's not 11 pounds.
Well, and she's not 15 pounds heavier than her previous fight either.
This is also true.
But I don't... okay, an 11-pound miss is a rarity. Like, she's missed twice. And this is a big miss. When you miss by a weight that they sell as an individual barbell, like, that's kind of a big deal.
So, do you think she stays with the company if she loses this fight?
Yes. the UFC has invested a fair bit of time and energy into her. And she has a lot of upside. I think if she loses, they'll just mandate that she fight up at flyweight at least once.
Okay.
But again, there was a lot of hype around her as the next star for this division. There's a lot of ability there. Again, the weight issues aside, she is a talented fighter in many respects. An extremely talented grappler. Her back taking is absurd. There's just a lot of refinement that has to be done, and considering she's 20 something. Nope, I stand corrected. She is 32.
This just in from MMA Mania. Rothwell low kicks KO Struve. What a mess.
Yeah, again, it was kind of a mess.
So how do you see this fight between the two gals breaking out?
The longer it stays on the feet, the more advantage it leans towards Marina Rodriguez, who is undefeated, 12-0-1, has 2 wins in the UFC and 1 draw. She's a very good kickboxer. Her primary strength seems to come from fighting in the clinch, where she's very aggressive with knees and elbows. And again, she wants this fight vertical. Calvillo wants it horizontal. And it's going to largely come down to a battle of who can dictate the directionality of the fight as far as that goes. I really this is one of those that I struggle to pick a winner. I think I went with Calvillo, but a Rodriguez win would not surprise me at all.
Why did this get the co-main event slot on this card?
Did you miss the part where I said the UFC put a lot of hype and energy behind Calvillo?
Fair enough.
Also, what else would you have put here? Look at the rest of this card.
Stefan Struve, Ben Rothwell.
No, you wouldn't. Okay, hang on. You might. A smart matchmaker would not put those two heavyweight fights back to back. More, and again, Struve was on a 2-fight or just broken a 3-fight losing streak. Rothwell was on a 3-fight losing streak. They're not co-main event status.
Well, people know who they are.
I don't care. They're not co-main event status. Not on those streaks. People know who Andrei Arlovsky is. He's not co-main eventing anything.
Okay then. We ready to start this shenanigans?
They're still doing hype videos for the next fight.
No, we're doing walkouts now.
Okay, yeah, you're ahead of me a bit. I've really got to figure out what on my computer at the moment is sapping so much of my memory. It's probably Skype. Skype is not a not a small product or a small file to run.
I think I've told you this before that you should get a tablet.
I have one.
Put the fight on your tablet.
It's really old, and it actually will not put the apps for ESPN Plus and whatnot on it.
Okay, get a tablet that was made this century.
I am not paying for it. What I would wind up doing is getting my tablet and then Skyping through that.
Ugh.
And then hoping that the wireless connection and whatnot didn't drain my connection too badly.
You'd be better off putting the fight on the tablet.
Yeah, but that's not possible.
No. Getting a decent tablet and putting the fight on it.
I do not have a spare $800. If anyone would like to contribute,
someone send Robert money or an iPad, please. He works so hard. When he's done here, he's going to review the Tito Ortiz, Alberto Del Rio.
That is not a thing I'm doing.
Combate. Patai.
Again,
Combatito.
That is not a thing I'm doing.
When Robert gets done here, he's going to jump on the Fight app and watch Rock the Bells.
Also not a thing I will be doing.
Robert will be doing a deep dive into the 58-year-old woman who's currently competing on Shamrock Fighting Championships.
No, but I will be finalizing kind of the script for a deep dive on Colby Covington, and then I have tape study to do for one that I want to set up for Kamaru Usman, and then hopefully release both of those on Tuesday and Wednesday next week.
You mean this Tuesday and Wednesday coming up?
Yeah, in preparation for UFC 245.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't do it after that. It wouldn't be relevant anymore.
Now, after, if I'm going to do something, it'll be how did X beat Y kind of thing. That's that's more the post-mortem stuff if I want to do that.
Do you get any comments on your Volkanovski one on the actual 401 page?
I didn't look. I haven't looked at the page yet. I imagine not. The podcasts don't do a tremendous amount of comment traffic on 411 proper. Apparently, there was at least one happy person on Podbean who left a review. A few different people on YouTube said nice things. I actually got an email congratulating me on the success of it from Jeremy.
Wow. Look at you, fancy pants.
Nearly 900 views, I think, on YouTube last I checked. So if people are interested in that, yeah, I'm trying to do, again, at least something for the main event for 245. Just a quick, skills breakdown on Covington and Usman.
What about Colby Covington's political views?
Utterly irrelevant to how he fights?
I think you should do a deep dive into that. Colby Covington on gun control. Colby Covington on abortion. Colby Covington on women's rights.
Yeah, that would be just such a winner. Especially at 4-1. Oh god, I'm honestly half tempted to submit some stuff like that now just to see the reaction. Because I'm kind of that guy on occasion.
Blackbird wrote me back. I wrote on Twitter, your winner via death by 1,000 dick kicks, Ben Rothwell. He wrote me back, that is not a man you want kicking you in the dick. I suppose if someone's going to kick you in the dick, it shouldn't be Ben Rothwell, because it seems like it really hurts.
Again, the man weighs over 260 pounds, and he's swinging about a fourth or so of that total mass at you with his leg. To say nothing of the actual force generated with, his musculature.
What if he jumps in the cage and kicks one of these two gals in the dick?
I'm not going to dignify that.
You shouldn't. I'm getting super slap happy. Clearly.
And sadly, this fight is not necessarily likely to cure you of that.
No.
Hey, you picked this card, and in all fairness, it was pretty darn good up until Rothwell and Struve. Who could have predicted that heavyweights would drag down a card? Oh, wait, everyone.
It wasn't bad until Stefan Struve got kicked in the dick 12 times.
It was bad before that. It got worse after that, but it was pretty bad before that, too.
In all seriousness, I'm trying to wake myself up now. It really broke the momentum of this card. This isn't Ultimate Fighter tempo bad, but it's not great. Yeah,
and the insistence on, hey, we have to build in time to air these human interest packages between fights. Look, I can appreciate a fundraiser event. And, again, cancer is just the worst. Cancer sucks.
Yes, it does. All right, round one. Here we go. Woo! Get excited.
Oh, I'm just about to get to the intros.
God, how far back are you?
Again, first of all, thanks to the ESPN app and my computer for being old.
All right.
Yeah, the streaming service on ESPN's website has been really choppy. And again, I'm sure a lot of that is
All right. Rodriguez came out swinging. Calvillo was throwing some leg kicks there to start. Circling and throwing leg kicks. That's what she does right now.
If she's not shooting a takedown, that's a lot of what she does.
Olive Oil content to throw hand strikes.
Punches.
That's the one. I like how of all the stuff I just said, that's what you focused on. Not that I'm calling her Olive Oil. Calvillo just
look,
to
I
circle
can
away from her.
Yeah. If she's not shooting to grapple, she's really still green on the feet. And in all fairness, I look at Marina Rodriguez, and in terms of how her body is made up, okay, fine, you're going to call her Olive Oil. Like, I know who you are, Mark. And I know which battles I can kind of try to fight. That one's not one of them, especially not at nearly midnight your time that I'm going to win.
All right. And Calvillo takes down Olive Oil.
There we go.
For those of you children that are listening to this, Olive Oil was a character in the old Popeye cartoons. She was played by Shelley Duvall in the live-action Popeye movie starring the late Robin Williams. Shelley Duvall's finest hour, by the way.
Oh, you made me sad, because now I remember that Robin Williams is gone.
By the way, Popeye, currently on Netflix. All right, and Olive Oil gets back to her feet, and she starts pounding. This is still going to be the one thing someone's going to leave a comment on, by the way. Be like, dicks, they're calling her Olive Oil.
Considering you got a mountain of crap for, your racist comments on how Japanese women pronounce R or L's.
No, the most recent one was Jesse and I didn't do the world's greatest review of Rings of Saturn and caught a heaping helping of shit for it.
Well, do a better job.
Nope. How about this? They should write better music.
That is also true. When I say do a better job, that's not just you. That's everyone tangentially related to what you did.
For those of you wondering, why aren't they calling me Action? What do you want me to call? She's current. See, now I can kind of sympathize now with the commentators on Raw and SmackDown when they're not talking about the matches, when nothing is happening. So we've got some clinching going on. Rodriguez content to use Thai plum and knee Calvillo about the face.
Yeah, again, Rodriguez's best game is actually in the clinch, and a nice head kick from Rodriguez as they break that clinch.
Are we calling her Rodriguez or Rodriguez? We've done both now.
Go halfway between the two, and we'll just call it good.
Olive Oil.
Look, I'm not going to do that.
Betty Boop. And Rodriguez takes Betty Boop down to the mat.
Little surprising there, but it's good to get Calvillo thinking about it.
And now she, almost to mount, starts pounding Rodriguez about the face.
Have you confused who's who?
No. No. Yeah. No. Yes. No. Maybe.
Calvillo's the one on top.
That's what I said.
No, you said Olive Oil took down Betty Boop.
No. Olive Oil and Betty Boop are the same person.
Okay.
Listen, don't confuse me. It's almost midnight, and I have to work tomorrow. And it's dark out, and there are wolves after me.
I sympathize. Tough round to score. I'm actually leaning towards Rodriguez, all things considered.
I scored for Bluto.
I'm going to go with Calvillo because that's probably what did happen.
Okay.
Okay, I refreshed my page. I think I'm closer to you now, so hopefully that again, the stuttering might come back, but again, I should be closer. We're in commercial break right now, right?
You are correct, sir.
Okay.
And we're back.
All right, I'm still a little behind you, but I think it's not nearly as bad.
Hot, tasty giblets. Here we go.
In all seriousness, the delay on the streaming thing, a part of this is really aggravating. This is the wave of the future, and you guys can't get your crap together. And in all fairness, I'm happy to admit, some of this is a little bit on my computer.
So Rodriguez doing a lot of fast punching, kind of like Song was in the previous fight.
And Rodriguez has fast... Again, she's a good kickboxer. She has fast hands. She's good about inflicting damage. And again, you see a lot of awkward stutter stepping from Calvillo. There's clearly bits of her that are well schooled, but she hasn't really put everything together yet. And she's wasting a fair bit of energy because Rodriguez has a much better feel for the distance. So she's not reacting to a lot of the silliness.
Knee to the abdomen from Rodriguez. Calvillo shrugs her off. I'm desperately trying to call her by her right name, but every fiber of my being keeps wanting to call her Olive Oil.
Look, you do you. Yeah, in all seriousness, guys, I know I give a lot of the commentary team a lot of crap at times. It's not an easy thing to do, especially when there's not a lot happening. And here, again, there's a lot of circling from Calvillo, but she's not finding a lot of success, and Rodriguez isn't really pushing the issue in some real way. She's landing decent counters, and her counter knees have been quite good so far, but she's not really forcing the action. She's also been doing a fair bit of following rather than cutting off Calvillo, and that seems to be changing a bit now. She's getting a bit more, again, urgent with what she's doing.
I don't love the fact that Calvillo is content to just circle away.
There's a serious... again, I mentioned that she should have, by many rights, should have won the Esparza fight, but just completely brain farted her way through the second and third rounds. There's a serious question about her fight IQ. And don't get me wrong, that can be remedied with experience. This is her 10th professional fight. So I'm not I get really frustrated with Struve because 10 years in the UFC and 40 professional fights, buddy, you should jab and circle. If you don't have this at this point, that's a real mark against you. Someone with less than 10 fights, who's been fighting for, less than 5 years, there's a lot that I'm willing to forgive as part of the developmental process.
Spinning back kick from... No, not spinning back kick. Kind of a side kick there from Rodriguez.
Yeah, you can see Calvillo doesn't have a whole lot to offer at range.
Yeah, Rodriguez is taking this round.
Pretty easily.
Calvillo just caught a knee there. A couple of shots to the abdomen, keeps backing her off.
Yeah, those counter knees from Rodriguez have done a real number thus far.
Mm-hmm.
She's timed them well. She's found the right spots for them. And Calvillo does not like them.
You know, I look, I'm all for marketing new stars, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of this woman in this particular fight that makes her a whole lot different or better or interesting than any other girl at this level.
Yeah, again, there was, between that suspension and I think she had a minor injury around that same time, a lot of her momentum derailed. If you have the time, and I know you might not, watch her first, 3 UFC fights. And you can see why she got to kind of this position.
She ate one coming in there. Now they are clinched against the cage. Round 2 is over. Easy round to score for Rodriguez.
Yeah, Calvillo just not a whole lot there that round. A much, much cleaner round from Rodriguez. Good distance management, good clinch breaking on the occasion that it arose, and some just really questionable decisions from Calvillo as far as what she's trying to do to win the fight. And again, some of that's also on her corner. I mean, I laughed out loud when her corner in the Esparza fight was like, hey, keep doing what you're doing. You're lighting her up on the feet. No. Really no. You're getting outstruck by Carla Esparza. Something's really wrong here.
Rodriguez could almost pass for Hawk's sister. # Cobra Kai.
I don't understand that reference.
Do you watch Cobra Kai?
The YouTube series?
Yes.
No.
Then you wouldn't get that character. You wouldn't get that reference. That's a reference to a character.
Fair enough. I can make absolutely no promises about how much of the pop culture I consume. It's not
I'm
a
actually
lot.
surprised you don't watch Cobra Kai.
I don't have YouTube Red.
You can order it, binge the series, and then cancel it.
I don't care enough to.
Ugh. You're missing out.
Am I?
Yeah.
I don't think I am.
Everyone says you are.
If by everyone you mean like you and Pat, then sure. That's
and
everyone.
Andrew and Jesse.
I don't care.
All right, then.
Look, I don't want to be the guy who, like, you all seem to enjoy that. I'd be the guy who watches it and then goes, no, you're all morons, here's everything wrong with it. And you'd rapidly become annoyed with me.
Speaking of annoyed with you, down goes Rodriguez. Calvillo is trying to get somewhere on top. I'm wondering with the position that she has, if what she was doing there with the left arm of Rodriguez, if maybe she could go, if some slight position changing, maybe go for a key lock.
Give me a second and I'll tell you.
Well, it doesn't matter. She kind of gave up that position and proceeded to just elbow Rodriguez about the head.
I see kind of what you mean, but the Kimura's sort of there, but not really. It's better. It's more a control position than it is a threat, given the setup that they have right there.
All right, Rodriguez getting battered this round. Calvillo is just slamming on her with elbows. She takes her back. Uh-oh. Rodriguez is in trouble.
Yeah, see, this is kind of why there was a lot of hype around Calvillo, because She tends to do this more often than not. But this was a really rocky performance from her. Like, even if she wins.
Rodriguez still taking elbows from the back. She's eating a lot of punches now. Things don't change momentarily. They're going to stop this.
Yeah, Rodriguez doesn't really have the oomph to get out of this position at this point. I mean, Calvillo needs this win, especially missing weight by as much as she did. You had a loss to a weight miss by 5 pounds, and that's a chunk. Like, that's a really bad thing.
Think we're getting ready for a stoppage here.
Yeah, it's just continuing to pile on and pile on and pile on.
Nope. To her eternal credit, Rodriguez battles out, gets back to her feet, despite all the pounding of the face. We have 30 seconds left. And Calvillo, she doesn't make a mistake in the next 30 seconds, easily took this round.
Yeah, this is going to come down to the first. Because I don't think there's enough for a 10-8 here under the old rules.
And we're done. Mercifully, we're at the main event. Hot dog, hot diggity, diggity dog. All right.
Well,
we
for
have
the
our
result,
decision.
we have our second majority draw of the evening.
Oh, hot damn.
There was one 29-28, I assume, for Rodriguez, and then two 28-28s, giving Calvillo a 10-8 in the third round. I don't have an issue with a 10-8 third for Calvillo. Consequently, I don't have an issue with the draw. In all honesty, again, my feed's been stuttering a bit. So I missed a fair chunk of the first round of that fight. Rodriguez winning it is probably more correct than Calvillo winning it. So again, I think a draw is a perfectly acceptable outcome, probably the correct outcome. That said, it really sucks for both of them because that was a brutal fight, and to only get a draw out of it, it sucks. But
look, I think some of these close fights that we've seen, or where neither fighter did enough to clearly win a round, I'm okay with more draws.
I've said it for a while. I'm okay with more. I think MMA could use more draws, if for no other reason than to properly incentivize more definitive fighting. And that doesn't mean finishes. That means more definitive fighting.
All right, so we are finally
walkouts for the main event.
At our main event, Alistair the Overeem versus.
Hang on. I have to ask,
sir.
Do you remember where Jairzinho Rozenstruik is from?
Suriname.
Do you remember where that is?
South America.
Hot damn! I taught you something. I'll take it.
Yes, Alistair the Overeem versus Yaizen Rozenstruik.
Say it with me. Jairzinho
Khrushchev.
Say it with me. Jairzinho Rozenstruik. There we go. That's it. Now just every time.
Johannesburg Rosenstein.
I walked right into that
one. Khrushchev was the one who banged his shoe on the UN table saying he was going to bury the United States, right?
I don't know.
Ugh. I was trying to make that joke earlier today at work, and I couldn't remember which Russian Soviet...
It was probably Khrushchev.
It's probably Khrushchev.
I mean, he's the one everyone forgets because he was, like, so profoundly... He was the worst, like, combination of crazy and inept.
All right.
Stalin was a murderous maniac, but it's difficult to argue just the sheer logistical control he was able to enforce over that wide an area.
Speaking of wild and inept, tell me about Alistair Overeem versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
I wish I had a better handle on this fight.
Oh, really?
Well, look. Overeem is a wildly inconsistent performer. He can fight Mark Hunt the perfect way. Good mix of technical striking on the outside, clinching, working him over from there, avoiding prolonged exchanges. Just beautiful fight. Then he can spend 15 minutes running away from somebody. Then he can spend, 10 minutes backing up and pot-shotting at JDS before cold-cocking him. Then he can fight Francis Ngannou and forget everything he knows about technical striking, just get close to the pocket and swing loopy, flappy punches and get his head taken off. There is no consistency to how this man performs.
Okay.
Like, on his best day, he's one of the best heavyweights in the world. But his ability to consistently put it all together is his downfall in many respects. On the other side, we have Rozenstruik, undefeated, only debuted in the UFC this year. He has knocked out, I believe, all three of his opponents thus far. Yeah, he knocked out Junior Albini, knocked out Alan Crowder, and knocked out Andrei Arlovsky. He's a very decorated... Well, he's a very decorated kickboxer. He has over 40 professional kickboxing fights. Probably not to the level of opposition that Arlovsky had, or that Overeem had when he went to K1, even though it was for a lesser period of time. But Overeem's chinny. And, again, prone to really odd strategic decisions. Rozenstruik is a good kickboxer with power and the ability to use all of his weapons, punches, kicks, knees, and elbows. If Overeem fights roughly the same way he fought, who was that poor Ukrainian guy he smashed? I think it was Russian. Sergei Pavlovich, I believe, was his name. If he fights the same way he kind of fought him, measured but intelligent, get a takedown, because Overeem's ground and pound is absolutely devastating. That's kind of, I think, his most likely path to victory. If he keeps this standing in the very traditional kickboxer style, Rozenstruik has a very real chance of taking this fight. And in all fairness, a UFC debut year that is 4 fights, 4 wins, all finishes, over an escalating level of opposition, culminating with Alistair Overeem. I'm not saying that's the best UFC debut year ever. It's not. That's a darn good one.
So this just in, and this might surprise you, but Tito Ortiz defeated Alberto Rodriguez via submission, rear naked choke, in round 1, 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
And then held the choke too long, because Tito's a dick.
Ortiz is now on a 3-fight win streak. How about that?
No one cares.
Apparently the Mix Max Challenge is going down in Tampa tonight. Rhea Ripley is teaming with the King of Bros. And Roderick Strong
is
teaming with...
terrible team.
and Roderick
I like
Strong
both
is...
of them individually, but that's a terrible tag team.
Tagging with Marina Shafir.
That's worse. I mean, look, Roddy is going to have to carry all of those poor people on his back.
Well, he didn't. Rhea Ripley and the King of Bros won.
No. I just mean, like, in terms of performance.
Rhea Ripley is my dream boat.
As a blonde or as she currently is?
Either way.
Fair enough. We see the statistics here. These two men are both 6'4". Overeem has 2 inches of reach advantage over over Rozenstruik.
I wish
again, Marina
Overeem
Shafir, not good.
I wish there was a fish. I wish Alistair Overeem was allowed to still be on steroids. I liked his body back then.
Look, can we stop talking about your sexual fantasies, please?
He had these big ass broad shoulders.
Just stop. Okay?
Tiny waist. He looked amazing. Carved from granite.
You know, you should consider a good steroid regimen.
No, I'm too fat.
Interesting way to say no to that. I mean, in all seriousness, like, they're not illegal. Well, some of them are, but, you know. If you're not competing in something that says it's against the rules, there's not really a law that says, hey, there's these anabolics that are illegal.
With all of my health issues, I probably don't need to be shooting steroids.
All right. Hey.
Though if I restart chemo again, I'll probably get some steroids because that's a part of the regimen.
Yeah, it's designed to help out with your body's recovery.
Yes, sir.
The odds for this fight also very close. Rozenstruik is the favorite at -125. Overeem -105.
So Overeem has every opportunity in the world to win this fight. The problem with Overeem is, like, he'll go on a tear, he'll knock bitches out left and right, and then he'll go into the next fight, make a dumb... Like, he kind of follows the same pattern as Donald Cerrone. He gets just enough of a pattern going of wins, and then he makes a dumb mistake in the cage and gets his head knocked off.
The pattern with Cerrone is a little bit clearer than with Overeem, because Cerrone, for all of his faults, is consistent. Donald Cerrone fights the way Donald Cerrone fights. This has led to some of his choking in big fights. But Rozenstruik turning down the touch of gloves offer from Overeem. Man's all business.
Side kick from Overeem to start it off. Lands in the belly.
Yeah, Overeem's at Team Elevation now, which is his third camp in about 5 years.
Oh, he left Florida?
A while ago.
Leg kick from Rozenstruik.
I imagine Rozenstruik is going to be throwing a lot of counter leg kicks. Just anytime Overeem commits to something, there's going to be an immediate return. Interesting that Overeem is southpaw. I mean, he can fight from both stances, but it's an interesting choice.
So Rozenstruik threw a kick, Overeem caught it, and then Rozenstruik tried to counter.
Overeem wanted that takedown. You can see that's part of his game.
Afraid of getting his head knocked off by this guy if he leaves too wide a gap, figuring if he takes it to the ground, that'll eliminate that possibility.
Good left from Overeem there.
Overeem very tentative in this first round. Not wanting to give this guy an opportunity to hit him with a big right.
Again, you don't want to get into a prolonged exchange if you're Overeem. I mean, that's kind of true regardless of who he's fighting. His chin is just not built for it at this point.
No.
So he's very much going to be kind of the pot shot and recenter.
Okay. Well, he got that. He was fishing for that takedown, and he got it. Now he's going to fight from side control.
That's a bad spot for Rozenstruik.
Okay. Overeem's looking for the mount. He moves into half guard.
Probably for more control. While side control is typically considered a superior position, the reality of MMA right now is more people know how to bridge, shrimp, and create motion from side control to escape than they do from half guard. You can see Overeem looking to control wrists and posture up rather than pass. He wants to find a position to land damage, not so much, again, get to a better, quote-unquote, position. Quotes around better, not position. Position is relatively well-defined.
Not enough is said about Overeem's grappling game. The guy's got some submissions under his belt.
Yeah, he does.
And it's not like this fella's Damian Maia here.
No, he's not. Most of Overeem's submissions are submissions that are accentuated by his physical strength. I won't say they're like pure strongman moves that he just muscles his way through. But most of them are like guillotines, Kimuras, Americanas.
I mean, that's grappling in MMA at a most basic level.
Yes and no. Again, when you get as many... I mean, the Americana, shouldn't happen as often as it does.
So this guy clearly has gotten away with just knocking bitches out and has not really worked on his ground game.
Well, again, you also did mention Overeem's grappling is relatively underappreciated. This is... Again,
this guy is, floundering.
Floundering's a bit of an overstatement. Again, it's made to look worse because Overeem absolutely knows what he's doing.
Yeah, Overeem's done a great job of smothering him. He's making him wear his weight. Yeah, he's working in strikes from the top. He's moving positions. He's working from...
he's in side control at the moment, I believe.
He's in side control, yes. And I think he might be trying to get a crucifix going.
He's moving towards it. Rozenstruik's left arm is not really in a position to be caught right now. But even if he doesn't get the full crucifix, getting to where he can elbow like this is very, very advantageous.
And you can go 3-9 like that?
Yes. This was a big, stupid debate for a while. About, wait, 12-6. If you're on the ground, doesn't that make the clocks flat? No. And when I say a big stupid debate, not just amongst MMA fans, referees. John McCarthy and Herb Dean had different standards for what a 12-6 elbow was for a while. Pretty clear 10-9 for Overeem there.
Why not a 10-8?
He got tuned up enough on the feet, and while he had a lot of good positions, I don't think he did enough damage. I wouldn't object to a 10-8. The difference in this case between 10-9 and 10-8 is marginal, and I feel a bit more comfortable erring on the side of the 10-9. Again, if he landed 5 or 6 more good elbows, or if Rozenstruik had been in distress from the damage at any point, yeah, that would have been warranted. Let's see how Rozenstruik bounces back from this. This is some real adversity he's faced here.
Well, if you're Rozenstruik, I think you want to get more... Don't fight so tall. Fight a little bit more crouched. Look for that takedown. Try to get Overeem as he's coming in. You're big. You've got big hands, big paws. Make this... if you're Rozenstruik, you really want to make Overeem suffer for trying to get that takedown. More importantly, you don't want to get taken down again.
You also, again, if you look at where Overeem got that takedown from, it came from the clinch.
That's what I'm saying. This guy needs to stay somewhat at distance. Yes. Now because here's the thing, you need to make Overeem pay for his anxiety. He clearly doesn't want to go punch for punch with this guy. He's going to lose. So now make any attempt that he can to not have to go punch for punch, make him pay for it. If he can. So far, he's not. So far, he's in the clinch.
The lack of ring, that was more down to the lack of ring craft from Rozenstruik. He let himself get too close to the fence. If their positions are reversed and he's facing the middle of the cage rather than the fence, he can separate from that shot much easier. But ring craft is kind of a general thing in mixed martial arts is still developing. I'll say it kindly.
That's why circling is something that's a necessity. I mean, don't Houston Alexander yourself, but,
You do still have to fight, but knowing where you are in the cage is a profoundly useful tool. I mean, I know she may not be the best fighter in the world, but look at how Holly Holm fights. She knows where she is in that cage all the time.
Well, I think to a degree that you can point to her boxing experience.
Well, that helps. The fact that Jackson Winklejohn also has a full-sized UFC-style MMA cage to work in is another credit to that. Because a lot of gyms train in smaller cages. And in fairness, a lot of promotions use smaller cages.
Good old...
If you're wondering why we're discussing that,
yeah.
More clinch fighting, which is good for Overeem. His clinch game is very, very good. It's where he does a lot of his truly devastating work, especially his knees tend to come from that positions. But Rozenstruik's inability to separate here, I don't know if he just doesn't want to, or if he's really not happy with his options for separation.
That's okay. Dan Mergliotta did it for him.
Well, you can always count on the ref, I suppose.
Head kick from Overeem.
Opening up a little bit.
See, he's fighting too tall. If I'm Overeem, I'd spear this motherfucker like Goldberg.
Yeah, you'd also run into a knee.
But he's not going to throw that knee. That's my point.
Yeah, look at how he's... watch his back foot every time Overeem kind of twitches towards him.
I don't know, man. And how much... from his stature, I'm not entirely sure how powerful that knee would be.
If you're running onto it...
I mean, sure. I'm not saying he needs to come all the way from across the cage, but, shoot from where he is right now, yeah. Shoot a double. I don't think this guy gets that knee up in time.
You're also risking him sprawling, because while the tall position like this does let you get to the hips, you can also, it's a slightly different style of sprawling. You can get your hips back relatively quickly if you're expecting it.
Well, what's Rozenstruik's wrestling defense like?
Not a tremendous amount of tape on it, actually.
See?
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong.
So Overeem is fighting a little bit more tentatively now. And Rozenstruik's been able to light him up a few times. Now, he's covered up in those instances because he knows his chin's made of glass these days. But still.
Good rights from Rozenstruik there.
Overeem plants a leg kick into the side of Rozenstruik.
Yeah, Overeem's really pot-shotting, and that's fine as a strategy. But good body kick.
I don't know. I'm not comfortable with a 10-10, but it's hard to judge that one.
Yeah, I think I lean towards Overeem.
Well, and that's 2 then for the big boy, for the Reem. Five minutes left in this heavyweight extravaganza.
You are incorrect, sir.
That's right. 5 rounds. Fuck me running.
Yep.
Eh. God, the longer this goes, that can't favor Overeem.
It's weird because on the one hand, sure, the longer it goes, the more opportunities there are for him to get caught. On the other, Rozenstruik's gas tank is a giant mystery. He might, again, neither of these men are clearly built for high-paced action, and fair enough, they're heavyweights. I can mock that a little bit, but at the same time, there's physical realities to lugging 250 pounds around rather than, 115. It's a giant exaggeration, I know, but gets the point across. Some of this will also open up elements of Overeem's game to the point where Rozenstruik becomes more and more reliant on finding the miracle punch. A good right from Rozenstruik.
Overeem attempted to take down Rozenstruik back into the fence, fought him off. Now they're stuck in a clinch again.
Overeem's clinch fighting has been pretty darn good so far. And Rozenstruik's hasn't been bad either. There's been a lot of battling for bicep control, wrist control, head position, and finding openings to do damage.
Rozenstruik, he ain't half bad. Yeah, he ain't half good neither.
That's kind of the story of this fight thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Because it hasn't been bad. We've seen one bad fight this evening. This isn't that bad. But nothing really great has happened yet either.
Well, I think
damage under Rozenstruik's right eye, I think, from those lefts that Overeem landed in the first.
Well, again, Overeem, I think, knows what his weaknesses are, and he's trying to fight smart. And all the credit to him. I like a smart fighter. Unfortunately, it doesn't make for a terrific viewing experience.
That's what everyone complained about with Anthony Joshua today.
Well, that's different.
Well, don't get me wrong. Hold on. I'm not comparing Overeem's level of MMA to Joshua's level of boxing.
I was going to say,
but the
Joshua
fundamental...
got criticized for circling and jabbing. Overeem's doing a lot of covering up. This is, if you're going to make a comparison to boxing, this feels like Canelo Kovalev in the first couple of rounds. And Overeem is doing his impression of Canelo.
No, I just mean that Joshua was very aware of the weaknesses that he had relative to the Ruiz fight, and fought very intelligently to avoid a repeat of that.
And Andy Ruiz is very very aware of where the taco trucks are.
Well, you gotta know where the good taco trucks are, just as a matter of course.
Andrew Ruiz is fat.
I am not disagreeing with you.
And we've got another takedown attempt. Nothing doing, says Rozenstruik. Says, you get off me, you.
Overeem's body kicks. He's not thrown a ton of them, but he's thrown enough to really set up his left, which is landing consistently this round. I know we've given him a little bit of grief here, but a really good round thus far for Overeem. I know we still have like 90 seconds or so that can all change. But he seems to have a read on Rozenstruik now, and again, his left hand is landing a lot more consistently. He's not as afraid of what Rozenstruik is offering, as evidenced by his motion. He's moving forward a lot more.
All right,
nice lateral draw up from Overeem.
Yep, Overeem has him down now. Much like the first round, he's working towards an advantageous position to do some damage. I think that's going to seal this for Overeem.
Easily the most definitive round of the fight. Credit to Rozenstruik for his ability to control posture from the bottom. He's not let Overeem get off a tremendous amount of damaging shots.
And Overeem doesn't need a lot of space to do that.
Overeem standing over Rozenstruik. Not tremendously effective, and then the round ends.
No, but he landed some good shots there towards the end of the round.
In the replay, he caught him twice on the chin.
Yeah. Yeah, Overeem is actually kind of cooking along at this point. I'm impressed. This is a very disciplined, methodical, but effective fight he's been fighting.
Well, let's hope he doesn't get too ahead of himself. We are in the championship rounds here, round 4.
Rozenstruik is starting to feel the duration of this fight and the physical reality of the clinching and the grappling that's been going on. And again, Overeem's hit a couple of really hot... They've beat each other to the body a fair bit. They've done some kneeing in the clinch, and Overeem's landed a couple of solid left body kicks. And Overeem kicks like a horse, no pun intended. Horse meat. Overeem seems well conditioned too. I mean, he's clearly been working, but he's not sucking wind. Which is more than I can say for a lot of heavyweights after 3 rounds of fighting.
Rozenstruik definitely evolves. Big right from Overeem.
Yeah, that just missed.
Right-left combination from Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik's starting to turn on the juice now.
I think he knows he's down, and he might have a feeling that, okay, I don't have a lot of juice left in me, so let's give it a go.
Yeah, if you even suspect you're down on the cards, now you really, by that 4th round, you have to start fighting with some urgency. Start taking some chances.
I mean, if there's an old saying in poker about getting towards after the river's been thrown. There's only 2 ways to win. You either have the best hand or you make the opponent fold. And if you know you don't have a good hand, you can only win by you're not going to win by calling.
Much to my chagrin, Rozenstruik starts to have Overeem backed up and on the cage, on the fence. And he doesn't, and he'll start to land combinations. Overeem will cover up, and it almost looks like Overeem is shook. And then Rozenstruik resets, and Overeem just kind of shakes it off, and he's like, I covered up, I'm fine.
Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, Rozenstruik doesn't want to stay there long enough to really get countered. You don't want to give Overeem enough time to go, okay, left, right, left, right, left, right. His head's going to be here, boom. That's just a bad idea. He also doesn't want to punch himself out. Like if he doesn't feel like he's got a shot at actually getting the finish, he's going to gas himself out, and then he's going to get finished.
This guy has bear paws.
You've said that several times.
Well, my point is, he needs to bully Overeem some. Use his shoulders, get his mass in there, and then try some clubbing rights. Go all Roy Nelson on him.
Never go all Roy Nelson.
Never go full Roy Nelson. Come on.
You never want the full Nelson. It's a wrestling pun.
Throw your fist like a mace.
I mean, again, I don't think the occasional, just overhand right to go, hey, catch this, would go terribly amiss.
But that's my point. Overeem's chinny now. Up. He caught him. Overeem walked it off.
Well, ask and you shall receive, I guess.
No, it was a straight that he caught him with. What I wanted to do is
look, he hit him with the right. Come on. Let's respect it.
Saw a couple of jumping knees there from Rozenstruik.
That does not seem like a great use of energy. You're a big guy. Maybe save the jumping stuff.
You know, for Overeem, he may have given this round away. Rozenstruik's hit him with some good combinations. He's backed him up a few times.
Yeah, that said, this is a good confidence builder of a round for Overeem, if nothing else. This guy's hit you now a few different times, and you're still there.
By the same token, here's where I need him to try going for those takedowns again. You know,
the fact that he got away from those to the extent that he did, not a great sign about where his conditioning is at the moment.
Well, at this point, so you don't like the idea of shooting a double. That's fine, you know, from the outside. Cover up like you've been doing, kind of nuzzle in there, muscle this guy against the cage. That's been working. Change levels and dump him.
Oh, apologies. Sneeze attack.
Another session of unloading from Rozenstruik. Have to give him that round.
Yeah, again, Overeem had some success, but on the whole, good round for Rozenstruik.
Could be 2-2, could be 3-1.
I'm 3-1, but I don't think 2-2 is all that out of line.
Could be 2-1-1. Could be 4-1-1. Could be 9-1-1.
Look, we all know it's 115-0 for Canelo.
I was telling somebody at work today about Canelo. She's like, oh, who's the new big superstar? I'm like, oh, it's Canelo. He's like, oh, is he better than Floyd Mayweather? I'm like, oh, God, not by a long shot. They desperately want to make him a star, so he's been the beneficiary of a few gift decisions. Don't at me. No, at me all you want. I'll just keep saying the same thing.
I mean, look, he has.
There are people on Twitter, though, that buy his wins 100%. And they'll tell you.
Sure. There's people who think Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. I don't know what to tell you.
This is true.
Sorry. I apologize. Bad joke. Point being, there are people who believe all kinds of stuff. There's people who believe Floyd Mayweather actively ducked a bunch of people. That's not the
All right, Rozenstruik's starting this round, getting busy.
Yeah, he at a minimum needs the round. At best case scenario, after 4. Yeah, best case scenario, he's 2-2. You know, both men have fainted a lot as this fight has gone on. I really appreciate that. It's been a good heavyweight fight.
Yeah, this is not a total embarrassment.
Unlike other heavyweight fights.
No one got kicked in the dick 20 times.
Well, there is still the 5th round.
Well, so, you know, we're almost a minute into the 5th round and no one's been kicked in the dick.
Good block of the takedown from Rozenstruik there. Ooh, good left from Overeem. Pity he didn't follow that one up. I mean, I know you don't want to really get into prolonged exchanges, but following that one up with a right hook would have been money.
Money. Dun, dun, dun.
Wow, you couldn't even finish the bar. You are really out of it.
Money!
I mean, I don't blame you. It's, almost 1 in the morning.
My God. Thank God I don't have to get up at 6.
If you had to get up at 6, we wouldn't be doing this.
No, you're wrong, sir. I would absolutely still be doing this because, God damn it, I am committed.
No, when I say that, I mean if you had to get up at 6, you wouldn't have scheduled this to begin with.
Sure would have. I don't miss a Reem fight.
You might have DVR'd this one.
I might have.
I'm not saying you would have missed it, but you wouldn't have watched it live.
Can you imagine all those people who paid $30 for Tito and Alberto Del Rio, and it's already over?
No, because I don't think they exist. Oh, nice attempt there from Overeem. He didn't get that leg drag, but he tried. Yeah, both men know they need the round, if nothing else. And they are fighting like it.
Leg kick from Overeem.
Man, I wish he'd kick more. He kicks so hard. And they're so good to look at. Like, those are those ugly Ben Rothwell dick kicks. Like, that's a kick you show people to show them how to kick.
He kicked Brock Lesnar right out of the UFC.
That is very true. Okay, referencing dick kicks, Rozenstruik complained about that one. It looks good to me, and apparently looked good to the ref, so nothing doing, but it's worth noting. You know, for a guy who took this fight on short notice, and Rozenstruik did take this on very short notice, he's really hanging in there. Because this was supposed to be Overeem and Walt Harris.
This fight has been going on so long, I just got a message from Spectrum saying you're about to go into power save mode.
The realities of heavyweight fights. I don't know what you want to tell me. I don't know what to tell you, I should say. Wait, Rozenstruik really came on strong as this fight went on.
Failed attempt. Fight over and get the takedown and got mush-mouthed away.
As deep as Overeem's bent when kind of trying to weave in, you'd think he could have really driven some attempt, but I don't know.
Less than 20 seconds, and I think this is going to be a tough one. Could be 3-2 Overeem. Oh, shit!
You were saying.
Well, it took him nearly 25 minutes. And Overeem's just like, why'd you call the fight? I can keep going. He's shaking it off. He's like, no, I didn't give up. He wouldn't knock me out. And in fairness, he got knocked on his ass.
There might be an argument for an early stoppage there, but it's justifiable from where I sit.
That's a rough one because in his defense, so okay, here it comes. Clipped on the jaw. Finally, that big right hand. And Overeem goes down. His hands drop. Now, here's the thing. Rozenstruik walked away.
Man, his lip is messed up.
So he got that clubbing right hand from Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik walked away like it was like a Mark away knockout.
Rozenstruik really should have followed up. I mean, okay. Overeem fell badly. Like, okay, I understand the ref.
Okay, if the ref's in position and stops the fight when he goes down on his ass, I'm okay with it. But watch what happens here. So Rozenstruik's done, and then Overeem's starting to get up, and the ref's like, "No, you're finished." I kind of see Overeem's point on that one.
Yeah, again, I understand. I understand his frustration there. He lands that, and Rozenstruik does actually kind of see the ref coming in. That leads to him deciding not to continue. That said, he should have hit him again, like just as a matter of course. Like that's just what you should do until the ref gets there.
Okay, I mean, if he's seeing out of the peripheral vision, the ref's coming in to stop it. I get it then, because once the ref initiates a stoppage, even if he's on the other side of the cage, it's over.
Well, it's not over until he touches both fighters.
Right, but once the ref starts to initiate it,
Sure, I get what you mean.
So I just feel bad for Overeem because it was literally he might have won that fight by unanimous by decision, and it was like less than 10 seconds away.
Should have ducked. I mean, again, look. If this was a genuinely bad stoppage, I'd feel worse. Look at the way he falls, man. He falls with his hands at his I get it.
I mean, but on the other hand, he's not unconscious.
You don't need to be well, he might be for a bit there. Hang on.
Okay.
I think if he falls into open space, he gets laid out.
He got chin checked, and he was on his ass. He wasn't out.
Again, I think the cage stopped him from falling flat. I don't think he got clipped. I don't think he got clipped, the same way sometimes you get clipped, your legs kind of go out, you drop to your butt, and I got dropped on my butt, and then you get right back up.
The official time, by the way, was 4:56.
Nice.
Okay, and I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to shut up so that you can hear the post-fight speech. Brock Lesnar was out cold, and they didn't stop the fight against What's-His-Nuts.
Oh, you will never get off of that.
I never in a million years. All right, and that's the word from Officer Bird. Rozenstruik defeats Alistair Overeem by Dan Mergliotta screwjob.
Stop it.
4 minutes and 56 seconds.
In all seriousness, look again at how he falls.
Never forget Brock Lesnar and What's-His-Nuts.
No one cares, except you.
All right, folks, that is our coverage, such as it was.
Very briefly, Rozenstruik calls out Francis Ngannou. Again, that's a fight he's been making noise about for a while.
Yes, international black-on-black crime.
I don't like Ngannou's chances, but the man hits so freaking hard. It's difficult to count him out.
Just let them bang, bro.
Oh, stop it.
I'm all in for Rozenstruik versus Ngannou.
I'm sure you are.
Someone's going to lose math.
I mean, do they even have it to begin with?
Yeah, it's true. You can't lose what you never had. But they might lose their... How about this? They're going to lose... One of them's not going to remember their name.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Fun fact. Rozenstruik has the longest active win streak in the heavyweight division.
In history?
At 4. No, right now.
Oh.
At 4.
That's got to guarantee him a heavyweight title shot, yeah?
They're working on the rematch between DC and Stipe.
Yeah, man. Rozenstruik. All right, so here's what you do. Stipe and Dan Cormier in your main event. Your co-main event is Rozenstruik versus Ngannou. Make it fucking happen.
I don't think you do that as the co-main. I think you have Rozenstruik on in the batter's box in case something happens to either of those two.
Well, that's what I'm at.
No. Because if you do that as the co-main, then you have to do something with Francis Ngannou when you bump Rozenstruik up.
I don't know. Feed him fucking Ben Rothwell.
No. So now you need to have Rothwell on the card.
Yeah. I like where this is going.
No, you don't.
Derek Lewis versus Ben Rothwell.
Oh, God, why would you even suggest that?
We're about to see Derek Lewis versus Ilir Latifi.
I know, and I'm offended by that.
And when Derek Lewis wins that fight via hot balls, then you do Derek Lewis versus Ben Rothwell.
I don't think Derek Lewis won his last fight.
Who cares?
I do.
Ugh.
Moreover, if Derek Lewis loses... Man, Overeem's face is his upper lip is a mess.
Yeah, he looks like he took a fucking baseball to the face.
That last punch from Rozenstruik split him open.
Night, bitch. All right. Next week is Usman versus Covington. We will bring you more of this coverage you've learned to love. This high-class coverage. right here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We've got Usman versus Covington for the welterweight title. Holloway versus Volkanovski for the featherweight title. Nunez is going to murderize Jermaine Durandame for the women's bantamweight title. Marlon Moraes is going to take on semi-pro soccer player Jose Aldo. Peter Pan.
Stop making fun of Jose Aldo.
No. Peter Pan will take on Uriah Faber, and my wife and Robert Winfree will cry into their soup.
Okay, hang on. For the record,
sir,
Rozenstruik was down 4-0 on all three judges' scorecards.
Are you shitting me?
No. Officially, he had not won a round.
Oh, good God. Well, good for him, then. Jeff Neal versus Mike.
Oh, God. Have you... Okay, there's a... Yeah, that... Dana White just tweeted a picture of Overeem's lip.
Okay, I get it. It's gross.
No, look at it, Mark. I insist.
I don't even have Twitter open right now.
I need your reaction to this picture on the air. That's all.
Oh, God. He fucking cracked his face in half.
That's all soft tissue damage.
Still yuck. He's gonna need stitches.
To be clear, that's the worst split lip I've ever seen, and I saw Robbie Lawler Robbie Lawler's been split bad multiple times, including the rematch with Roy McDonald. That used to be my my hallmark. This is now the worst split lip I've ever seen.
Gross. Jeff Neal takes on Mike Perry. Ketlin Vieira takes on Irene Aldana. Matt Brown takes on Ben Saunders of Bellator fame. And then in your early prelim ESPN/Fight Pass card, you've got Chase Hooper versus Daniel Teemer, Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara France, Jessica Evil Eye.
That's a terrible fight.
Takes on Vivian Araujo.
Arujo.
God bless you.
Brazilian. Jays are Jays.
Punahele Soriano takes on Oscar Piechota. Terrific. So that's your and allegedly Omari Akhmedov versus Ian Heisich.
Heinisch.
Allegedly. So that's your final UFC pay-per-view for the year 2019. We'll bring you all the action on the main card live on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. In the meantime, in between time, if you're looking for more fight coverage, we'll be doing we'll either be doing Fedor versus Rampage, myself and Pat, or John Warren and I will be doing Gervonta Davis versus Hiroki Gamboa on Showtime, depending on who shows up and who wants to work. And then on January 4th, myself and Pat Mullen will be doing some pro wrestling. The ropes, they're made of chains. It's no submissions, no holds barred. It's ICW New York, no holds barred.
That seems terrible.
In the meantime, we've got Teen Titans by Jeff Johns, Knives Out, Rings of Saturn, Lady and the Tramp, and Teen Titans Season 2, all in the archives. This week, we've got a review of The Crown Season 3, Gotham Central Book 2, our next chapter in the long, strange trip through heavyweight boxing featuring Jack Dempsey. We'll be reviewing the new Life of Agony. It'll be the last Metal Hammer of Doom review for the year. And then finally, we're dusting off Long Road to Ruin, and we'll be doing Hooray for Santa Claus. Oh, and I did forget, special Friday night fight, hot diggity. We've got Virgil Ortiz versus Brad Solomon on DAZN. DAZN. What does it rhyme with? Calzone.
I was waiting for it.
So That's all I've got to say. Clearly my voice is about to give out. I've got to get up in the morning. It's dark out and there are wolves after me. Robert Winfree.
You live in Florida. There are only wolves after you. I refuse to believe it's dark.
Robert Winfree. Tell him what time it is.
It's 11:06, right?
Oh my God.
All right. This last episode of if you're listening to this show, I assume you have some interest in the world of mixed martial arts. You can find me most Sundays, goes up late Sunday evening, hosting the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. This last week it was just me. Jeff Harris was sick. I previewed this event, talked about the news from the last couple of weeks, Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov being booked for a 5th time. Please God, hold together. Donald Cerrone and Conor McGregor being made for a fight. Makes about as much sense as anything you were going to do. And just news of the week. This coming Sunday, hopefully Jeff will be back, and we will review all of this action, plus preview next week UFC 245, which is an epic card on paper. It is such a good card on paper. I am salivating. On a slightly less weekly note, a couple of weeks ago I released a different style of podcast where I took I think I called it Deep Dive, where I just looked at how Alexander Volkanovski beat Jose Aldo and what that might help inform us about a fight between him and Max Holloway, which is coming up, in theory. Hold together. Please hold together. That is such a good fight. I will lose it if that fight falls apart. I will throw something and scare at least one of the animals living in my house.
Oh my.
So this coming week in the build to UFC 245, I'm going to be releasing 2 slightly smaller than that are just kind of skill studies, one on Colby Covington, one on Kamaru Usman. So be on the lookout for that, like Wednesday and Thursday. The Covington one, I'm going to do the script like this evening, part of tomorrow, and tomorrow also do my tape study for Usman, start writing that up. Should be a good time. And the response to the first one was very, very positive. I believe it's the most viewed thing I've put on YouTube at the moment.
Ever.
For whatever value. That's the most viewed thing I've put on YouTube.
Ever.
To this point in time.
Ever.
No, because that would mean nothing's ever going to beat it, and I would like to make stuff that surpasses it. Unless you're trying to impose a glass ceiling on me, Mark. Are you trying to artificially stunt my growth?
I would never touch your growth, artificial or otherwise.
I appreciate it. You're a beautiful man, but not in that way. So again, be on the lookout for those. Look, I don't ask for a lot of feedback most of the time, because if there's anyone listening, then I'm happy to keep doing this. Like I'm not saying please feed my ego. But when it comes to these, I really, really do appreciate the feedback because I want to make them better. Like the ground and pound proper, there's things I can do to make it better. There's refinements I can make, but in some respects, it is what it is. And I don't mean that as a negative. It's an established property. It has an established rhythm. These I'm still, again, refining elements of them. So please, in the comments, positive or constructive criticism. I mean, look, if all you want to do is tell me to eat shit, I can't stop you, but that's not really helpful. So, again, if you will, please leave, some kind of some kind of interaction with the product. That's always appreciated. And again, so you can also find me most Tuesdays, hosting Damn You Hollywood. This last week, Mark Radulich, Alexis Haina, and myself got together and we reviewed Knives Out, which I saw again today and is pretty much just as good the second time around. Although they give away the ending shockingly early. I didn't realize it the first time through, but the best judge of character is a dog. So you can listen to our review of that. Are we doing Jumanji this week or next? Next week. So next Tuesday, I will put myself through the unmitigated hell that is Jumanji 3. Mark will then proceed to mock my pain.
Oh, mockery.
Yeah, so you can look forward to that. You can find my full report for this event in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com. If you want to, again, read what I was writing as I was talking, because I can do two things at once. I am a coverage god. I'm not. I'm really not. And yeah, we'll be back next week for 245, which I can't wait for. I should have pulled a violence card on that one. I should have said, nope, I just want to enjoy the violence. But I didn't. So instead, I will be trying to talk to you, type it up, and enjoy the violence all at the same time. That's going to be a rough one.
All right, folks. This was a bit of a rough one to get through, but we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed the analysis, the jokes, the commentary, the jokes.
That's most of what we got for these people.
Yeah. With that said, thank you for joining us. Be well, be safe, and behave.